Good evening. This is the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of Thursday, March 26, 2026. If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to do the roll call. Jim Bonanno's present. Mr. Phil Nemisak.
Present.
Lauren Goodrich.
Present.
Joseph Rubino.
Present.
Michael Fortuno.
Present.
We're just going to clean up some meeting minutes. So let's see. So I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 26, 2026 Planning Board meetings, subject to Mr. Nemisak's corrections.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just for the record, there's two applications that have been adjourned for the evening, and that is application 2117, 15 Tuckahoe Avenue subdivision, and the next is 25-18, 210 Marbledale Road subdivision. And the applications we are going to review in this order, and their order is, the first one is Sal's Market and Pizzeria. The second is 201 Old Wilmot Road. The third is 5 Green Meadow, followed by Great Day Family Child Care, and then 72 Dale, followed by 23 Dogwood. So let's just dive right in. The first one is more administrative application. So there's really no public hearing or anything about it, and it's about an application that has been on the roll for a long time that we want to clean up, and that is application 23-15, Sal's Market and Pizzeria at 750 White Plains Road. I make a motion to find the application, again, 23-15, 751 White Plains Road, has been abandoned based on the applicant's failure to pursue it and to remove it from the planning board agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Let's get started. The first application is 25-73, 201 Old Wilmot. Is there a cable up there, Gary?
It's already up?
On the shelf.
Cable on the shelf.
My name's Christina Griffin. I'm the architect for the project. I'm here with Mary Cora Solinop. She is the owner. We are here for the second time. This is a proposed new residence. And last time we met, we reviewed the plans with you, and then soon afterwards, we met with KCSJ and our engineer, Ralph Mastromonaco. We went over the plans. This is a project that has a challenging site with a FEMA 100-year flood zone nearby, and our engineer has supplied a set of drawings and a report. At the meeting, there were some recommendations and some comments, so we actually adjusted the plans. So they're slightly different than before, but a very similar house. We just moved the house towards the front. The house is going to meet all the setbacks. This is our zoning chart. Front, side, rear. We are going to be asking for a few minor variances, and the most significant is the floor area, because This is a special home for intergenerational family, and we are going to be asking for a variance to have a floor area of 3,985 square feet, and it's 708 feet over the maximum, but we will not have a basement because of the flood zone nearby. And also, we feel very strongly we need that kind of floor area to meet the needs of the layout of the house. We have a family member who's handicapped, so we have a handicap suite. We have home offices. We have grandparents and children, and everything's been very carefully designed. It's also a passive house. We're planning to have zero energy, so we have very thick walls, and that takes up floor area. So this is a list of all the variances that we have so far, and we have some minor variances for the height so we can get more solar panels on the roof, and we have very small variance for lot coverage
Excuse
and
me?
impervious surface.
Excuse me? Could either you or Gary zoom in on that a little bit so we could see it a little more clearly?
Yes,
I don't know who did that, but thank you.
okay.
Okay, cool.
The items above that are not highlighted just indicates all the items that are in compliance with the zoning code. Setback, all the setbacks that are required. But we are asking for a variance. One is from the house to the pool instead of 12 feet, 8 feet. And that's because of the available space we have in the backyard. Impervious surfaces, we're asking for 6% overage, which is under 10% to fit the house on this property. We're asking for a building coverage variance that is 1.2% over the maximum. And we are asking for some minor height variances, 1.3 above maximum for the eave, grade to eave, and then the 3.2 for the height to the very top of the roof. And we'll show you in a minute. The reason for that is because we want to hit this target for passive house air energy, and we need solar panels on the south-facing plane of the roof. And then down below we have the front of the house would never meet code, doesn't meet code now because of we have to have an elevation of 206.5 because of the floodplain conditions and requirements. And that just doesn't meet the maximum, the height above the grade at the front of the house, so we need a variance for that. And then on the floor area, this is where we want to have a house that is more, 3,953 square feet, and only 3,200 is allowed. But of course, we have no basement, so that is also puts us back, makes it so that we have to get all the area on 2 floors. Our foundation plan is slightly changed from before, simply because we pushed the house towards the front property line to get more room for the backyard. The entire house will be filled. There will be no basement, no crawl space. Our first floor plan just shows the layout. We have, kitchen, dining, living, family room, and the handicap suite in the back is really important. It allows one of these family members to live in home, and there will be handicap access into the front entrance and through the house to this suite in the back. We're also looking for a small pool and patio. And on the second floor, we have bedrooms. There is a family who, with 2 children that will be living in the back, and grandmother in the front, and son on the other bedroom on the other side of the house. And this is a family that they take care of each other. Their reason for living together is because it's very important to their way of living and all the care that is needed for the children and the older people that reside there. This is our roof plan. We've created a larger south-facing plane to get the solar panels that we need to hit our targets for net zero energy. And these are very similar, very minor changes we made because we shifted the house a little bit. We designed the house to have as much south-facing glass as possible, meeting all the passive house principles and having less glass on the north, with a combination of gable and shed roofs. And sorry, I wanted to mention, if I could get back to that picture, on the elevation, we are over the maximum height, but only in the back of the house here, because this gives us a little extra height to give us a row of about 5 solar panels. Now, I'm going over this again, even though we discussed it last time, just to make you aware of the variances we are looking for, and what we would, although we have our engineer working on providing the information that was in the memo from KCSJ, and I had a long conversation with him today, and he's really comfortable with providing all that information. And but we would like to also go to the zoning board soon, because we'd like to see if these variances will be granted before we put more time and expense into the details of the drawings.
Great, thank you. Is there, where is the floodplain? I guess you've moved the first floor up such that you're above the floodplain?
The floodplain's in the backyard, right?
It's just in the back?
I saw,
I have the engineer's, he has a very nice diagram in his report, and I will bring it up.
yeah, I think it's on the
Here we
third
go.
page of your
This is,
engineer's report.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is the existing flood zone from the FEMA map. And down below is a corrected flood zone. And what you see in yellow is the existing house. We see in red is the new footprint that's added to the house. And the flood zone is this shape. So, you know, it is on the property, but mostly on the very outer, on the edge of the eastern property line in the back, and then along the southern part of the property here.
There's a report from a Ralph Mastromonaco, your engineer. Is that right? Is there a report dated March 2nd, 2026 from Ralph G. Mastromonaco Consulting Engineers? Do you have that handy?
Yes, right here.
Okay.
This is a few pages out from his report.
Okay. Can you go to the third page of that report? Because that has a site plan on it as well. Yeah, scroll down, yeah, there we go. See at the bottom of that, there's something called a regulatory floodway, and there's a pink solid line, and it appears that beneath that pink solid line, you're dealing with what we would colloquially call the flood zone.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is this an accurate drawing, or you said that it was recalibrated at some point, or there had been mistakes on some form?
The FEMA maps that the engineer is working with, he said they were not updated, and the county was going to. Because of funding, they didn't, so what they're showing is not accurate, and he went through an analysis to show that it is actually in a different location. But we actually discussed that with KCSJ, and they said that at some point, maybe by the time before we get a C of O, we should have an official update of the FEMA map. But we're not able to get that at this time.
Okay, because no one on this board is an expert in water flow and what the consequences of a flood zone or a flood area a regulatory floodway, I don't know what you call it, but it does sound like it is an area that is probably more prone to having surges of water. And we just need someone to walk us through that, what the significance of this is. And to be clear, it does appear that the renovations, the renovated structure that you're proposing is not in any way within that floodplain, right?
Yes, and there's also important that I think we have, according to what Ralph has told me, we have to comply with the code to show there is no rise in the floodplain with this construction. And he feels confident his report will show that KCSJ wants his calculation with more information, which he is ready to provide.
Okay, good.
So we'll go to our consultant in a minute. We'll just, we'll move to Casey, to our consultant in a minute and talk about the floodplain. We'll just finish with what you've presented before we do that. So, I mean, as far as the design goes, we understand the need for the variances, and we respect that. And it's, could you just, we always like looking at the elevation, so could you show us the street elevation? I know the massing is just a little bit bigger.
Do you mean the architectural drawings as
Yes.
seen from the street?
Yep. That's it. Yep. Yep, perfect, right there. Did you walk us through materials last time? I wasn't here at the last meeting, if you were here.
Well, I can, and we even had photographs of the neighborhood at the last meeting to show.
Oh,
But if you'd like to see that again, I don't know.
no, I don't want to,
Okay, so I'll tell you
Later.
the materials.
just
I want to
quickly.
show you this design. The current house that we're removing has a basement that's not used and has a garage in the basement. We want to take everything out of a garage. No garage on this kind of site. And so we have brought the garage to the, just below first floor level, just so that we have the 5% slope that's required from the street to the garage. And then we're going to have a slightly sloping grade to allow handicap accessibility into the home. This is a house that we're planning to have a gable roof. You know, we want the scale to fit the street, and it is more in sync with the larger homes in the street. It will have a variety of materials. We'll have an off-white stucco with some different types of cedar paneling and a cedar trellis as accents, and a standing seam metal roof over the front entrance. There's a trellis detail that is over all south-facing glass. This is west, and west glass is, you know, we have a lot of heat load during the summer, so we have the trellis here. We have a covering over the front door, and then we also have a porch here on the left above the garage. This is a porch that's about 5 feet deep, which really shades these windows very nicely on this west facade. The height that is above the maximum ridge, if you see on the left, it says maximum ridge height. The majority of the house actually is under that maximum, but we have a peak here that is set back, and that peak is really simply so that we can get another row of solar panels here. We decided to set it back so that we would kind of mitigate the massing and the size of the house. And so this is only jogged, you know, a certain feet back from the front facade. And then the side elevation is all similar, is all an off-white stucco, trellises over the windows on below, deep overhang over the windows on the second floor. There is access to the small patio on the back, and then on the second floor there's a small roof deck. Do you want me to continue?
No, I think that's sufficient, thank you. No, it's very well done. So we're going to switch to our consultant now and let him pick up some comments about the site plan and the water. Good evening, Rick. Thank you.
Sure. Give me his report.
Yeah, past this, is that the color drawing of the floodplain with that red area? I just want to look at that. Should be a couple pages down. There we go. That's perfect.
Do you want this one or this one?
I'll
Sure.
thank you very much, Christina. Good evening, Rick Bolander, KCJ Consulting. Although it looks like a lot of comments in here, they're really focused around two subjects, is the floodplain and the stormwater. And the applicant's engineer has done a good job of addressing a significant amount of the comments, but there's still some information that we're requesting in regards to the floodplain and the stormwater. One of our concerns with the floodplain, obviously, if you have a site and there's a established floodplain elevation, and if there's fill, either structures, grading, walls, pools, what have you, below that flood elevation in that zone, it's going to displace those floodwaters. And we want to prevent that from, flooding other properties. So I had asked the engineer to leave, or the architect to leave this sketch up. So what you see here, this is essentially existing conditions. And we were really concerned with this area right here, where if the house were to be built with the wall and whatnot, you see that red area expand. And that's over, there's a couple contours in that area. So we were concerned just about the rise of the flood elevations because of that. The engineer has assured us that there is a no rise, but we just asked for more information and just to explain what's going on in that picture specifically, just so we could better understand. We've also asked for an exact volume that is being displaced, that is being filled under that flood elevation. He has let us know that he'll provide those numbers. And then as far as stormwater, there's, they have a report, but there's a lot of backup calculations that we were looking forward to fully analyze the stormwater report. We do believe there is a path to get this approved as is. We just need that additional information to be included in the stormwater report. And we have had discussions with the engineer. He has assured us that it will be provided. We just don't have it yet to fully analyze the stormwater report. And that being said, I do appreciate and I do sympathize with the applicant because, if the variances aren't granted, obviously things change. And I would like to get them to the zoning board as quickly as I can. I'm just worried about the program of what they're showing changing to accommodate the stormwater or the floodplain. And obviously the building wouldn't get any bigger, the variances wouldn't increase. They would only decrease if they had to accommodate more stormwater or more floodplain mitigation. So I think that's our concern about going in front of the zoning board if the site plan and the proposal is to change.
You don't want to do the same thing. I guess you don't want to do the same thing twice.
Yes. I mean, like I said, I mean, if the building were to change, if the application were to change, it would only shrink. So the variances would still be valid, but they'd be
To a lesser degree.
But I do understand that, yes, if they don't get the variances, that's a big deal. So
Sure. So we're all engineers here. Do you feel, you said it, you feel there's a path to get both of the items addressed by the
I think
applicant?
so.
So we trust your judgment, so we're going to go with that. And I don't see any reason to tell the applicant to go back, spend a month resolving it with you, come back and
Yep.
say everything's okay, and then refer. So I'm okay with referring it now.
Good.
I am. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I'm certainly
Yep.
okay with that.
Well, I certainly want to hear from the public.
This is not I mean, you're welcome to open it to public comment, but this is not a public hearing yet because this is still undergoing preliminary review.
All right. Forget I even said that.
Just one question. Is there anything that you'd like to see before the zoning board that maybe we ask for in the interim? Like maybe you don't have to see it again, but before it goes to the zoning board? Just
Yeah, it'd be, the backup stormwater calculations, just more information from that report. And then just exact numbers about how much of the floodplain is being dispersed, just a, volume calculation of that.
those calculations are probably existing already to prepare that report, or they have to be prepared?
I would assume so because, you have to plug in that information to produce that report. So yes, it should be there and it shouldn't be too much of a heavy lift to produce that.
Because maybe one kind of compromise approach might be to have that analyzed and then make the application right to the zoning board, not to come back here, but have that information for the benefit of the zoning board.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Of course. Just, I don't know if you can answer this briefly, but just out of curiosity, how do you handle stormwater runoff when you're in a flood zone? Same way you would if you were not?
It'd be because essentially that system will be in the flooded area, it'll be under the elevation, the flood elevation. So you have to use a closed system where the water can't infiltrate in.
Got it.
And the problem with that is because you can't take any credit for infiltration, so the system gets bigger. But, there's area in that backyard.
Big tanks to handle that. Well, baby. Okay, great. Since this is not a public hearing, we're not going to open a public hearing. Any more comments from us? If not, I'm going to make a motion to refer.
Oh.
Great. So I make a motion to refer. Thank you, Rick. I make a motion to refer application 2573-201 Wilmot Road to the ZBA for review.
That's Old Wilmot Road.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a nice evening. The
Yeah, and I
next-
strongly encourage your engineer to provide the materials to KSCG.
The next application is 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road. You too, thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
Good evening. My name is Joe Fernandez. I'm the architect for the project. Since we were last here in front of this board, I know that there's some members that were not here. The application for the shed has been lowered. So the original height was designed at 13 and a half feet, less than the 15 feet, which is the accessory structure rule here in Eastchester. And in working with the building department and taking the neighborhood comments into consideration, we decided to, even though it's built, to lower the roof down to 12 feet. So that would mean that the structure would have to be, roof would have to be removed and reframed and reshingled and just redone. And so my client has agreed, based on some comments that he had heard, to do that. This board had recommended that we go to the ARB, which we did, and we presented this rendering along with some facts about the structure and the finishes, and they had a few comments that they made. They asked for the specific tree type, which we've listed now to show that they would be arborvitaes that would be anywhere between 12 and 14 feet in height once they're fully grown. And we also have a small, it's a wall, but it's to sit on. and they wanted the elevation. So we had to show top and bottom of the wall, which was either 0 or 18 inches, so.
So it hasn't been shortened yet, right? What's
Not
out
yet,
there?
no. But that's what's proposed, and the building department had said that that would be fine.
Sure. So what are we looking at here?
Say again?
What are we looking at here?
So this is the bottom of the driveway. The structure itself from the street, unless you're on the, so if you're on the driveway side, you won't be able to see the structure. If you're between 5 and 7, there is a green area there and a driveway and a fence, and you can see it from there, but it's not as obvious as you might see, you know. I mean, so the driveway, all you'll see are that line of trees there and the azaleas, and just, that's it.
Where did this pergola come into play, or this?
So that's just a kind of a tie between the structure and that doorway that you see, which is now currently a storeroom, and then just beyond that, you'd have to look at your plan. There's a set of stairs that go up to the kitchen.
I think that's the first time we're seeing that, though. I don't know if that's the jurisdiction of this review, but is that something that has to get reviewed by Architectural Review Board or anybody, or no?
They saw it.
These plans were presented to the architect.
Yeah, they saw it.
Could you also explain, I don't think the garden wall was on the plan the last time it was before the planning board, so maybe you want to explain that too.
Sure. The garden wall essentially just goes here behind those trees, and then down along the one side of the property where there's a 6-foot PVC fence.
What's the height of the wall?
18 inches.
It's a small wall.
So you could sit on it, that's all, essentially.
Do you have an elevation view that we can see just the massing of the new structure? I know you said it's 12 feet in relation to the existing. Like you have a plan view shown right here?
That shows it down 18 inches?
No, an elevation view of the entire plan, not the wall. Just to see the relation of the new structure relative to the,
So this is it. So this is the structure, and this is the house.
correct, I'm asking for an elevation view. Like to
An
look at it,
elevation.
the cross-section, yes.
Sure, like this?
Because the rendering looks a lot more palatable than what it was last time, but
I'm sorry,
the rendering makes it look a lot more palatable, the massing of the structure, than what it was last time, because we've reduced the height. I just wanted to see it in relation to the house.
so you can see
Yep.
it here, and this, that's the house.
Thank you.
Sure.
Did you change the landscape plan on this now to add new, yeah,
We did add, yes.
all right.
Yes.
A significant concern that I have based on, I have been on the property, but I've been around it, and certainly from Leslie Road, you can see that a number of the arborvitaes that are there, I would say, rough guesstimate, 60% of them look like they're in very poor shape. They're brown, and they don't look like they're going to make it. So is this going to be, are these going to be all new plantings, or are we talking about using existing? or
So
what?
what's there, what we show on the plan is what the final will be.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is something that has not made it, obviously the nursery will have to replace those.
Do you know what the planted height of the trees you're proposing is? I thought what you had reflected on the plan was the planted height, but I think what you just said was that it's the maturity height.
So currently I believe they're 10 feet.
And that'll be the planted height for them?
That's the,
For the new plantings and for anything that has to be replaced, that'll be the height at the time of
to
planting?
start, sure.
I think you said 12 to 14.
12 to 14 once they're matured, yes.
Oh, what are they going to be when they go in the ground? What's their height going to be when they're planted?
10 feet.
Yeah.
That's what they are now.
And how do we ensure that those are maintained? Because as a general rule, people can take a planting down on their property anytime they want.
Understood.
Yeah, so.
I'm sure there's
Yeah,
plenty of
you-
folks that will be watching this and
Yeah,
You can impose as a condition that the landscaping, that the landscape screening that's
Be
installed
maintained.
has to be maintained,
Yep.
replaced for the duration that the structure exists.
So did we discuss the 12 to 14 before on this board? And is there?
I had, yeah.
Or you said 12, that's full grown, it's 10 planted.
Correct.
Any way we could get 12 planted?
Well, the thing is, they say that they're 12-foot trees and they come as 10 feet. I mean, just being realistic.
Right, I mean, but it's going to take a couple of years for them to reach the height.
They're quick. I think by next year, he'll be trimming them back.
Because quite simply, it's an eyesore. The-
What is?
The structure. I'd like them to get covered up as quickly as possible. I mean, how much of so I guess another question is, how much room do they have, those arborvitaes, between the fence and the structure?
So I believe there's currently 3.5 to 4 feet.
Okay, and what do you think the arborvitaes grow to?
3 feet.
So it's going to be touching the fence and touching? Yeah, okay, I'm not a landscape architect, but it seems like it's going to be tough for one side to get sunlight.
It's a 6-foot fence. I mean, they're big plants.
No, I mean the side on the structure.
On the fence side, or on the, where do you,
The
on the
structure, I
structure
mean, how does
side?
sunlight hit that side of the plant?
Yeah.
So, did we say we're going to put something in about the maintenance of this, and they have to maintain them, and if they have to get them out and?
Yeah, so a condition to say that they have to be maintained in a healthy condition for the duration of the accessory building, and that dead, diseased, damaged plantings have to be replaced.
and by the way, for the record, I know the chairman used the term eyesore. I don't view this as an eyesore.
Neither do I.
In a vacuum, or on its own, it's perfectly fine, and I understand that, you know, that your client wants this structure, and you know, the town permits accessory structures. The concern that I think we all have is that it still looks to me oversized. I know you've made, you know, concessions to, you know, voluntarily to reduce the height of it, and I commend you for that. You know, it's still, especially from the neighbor in back, and we've also heard from the neighbors on the side who maybe do view this as an eyesore. You know, I don't think it's an unattractive structure, but I understand where people may have a preference not to see a large structure blocking what previously was, you know, open space. And it is, you know, and I've complained about this already several times in connection with this application, that somehow the town ought to perhaps take a closer look at the sizing of accessory structures on smaller properties, and you know, what sort of spacing we should have from property lines, because this does seem like a really tight fit in the back there, and I understand the concerns of the neighbors. But I did want to just clarify that you know, I think that, you know, it looks like you've done a nice job with the structure itself, and I know there are those who won't agree with that, but that doesn't change that it is a large structure on a small property that we've already heard a number of neighbors complain about.
Can you point on the site plan of that view between, I think you said 3 and 5 from Leslie, of where you see that structure the most? Is it where those 3 trees are?
This is the driveway, so you won't see the structure. It's the view of the rendering is like standing here, okay? And if you were here, there's some space and there's a driveway at 7, and so you could, if you were on the street, you could potentially see something. However, I think the trees are going to help mitigate that.
Is there an option for a different type of tree that's much larger? that grows to be much larger? Because just going by Leslie, I'm just trying to get my bearings based on the site plan, but the right side of the plan is where you do see it when you drive by Leslie. I don't know if that's gonna really help with those types of plants, but if you do a larger tree that blossoms to be a much bigger tree, it'll hide everything. It doesn't, the impact on the neighbors is still the same, but I'm just talking from the street view. Right now, you can see it, and I don't know if that's going to do the justice to.
I think that'll change once it's in there and it's filled in. I think a larger tree, if you think of an oak tree, a maple tree, or something like that, has a trunk and then it has this plumage, right? There's a lot of space there. This is really going to kind of create a screen, and I think this is going to help with the overall disappearance.
You know, I can speak from my own experience. I had a neighbor who, well, another neighbor paid to have a tree removed, and it was a very large, old, mature tree. And it upset me greatly because all of a sudden, you know, there was no screening at all that this tree had provided. Well, I paid for the neighbor to put in arborvitaes, and those grew very quickly, and they provide an excellent screen right now. It took a little while, it took a little expense, but we ultimately got the privacy back that and probably it's even more, how shall I say, the screening is even more thorough. But it took us a little while to get there. And, it's that part of it that's unsettling.
Yeah, and just remember that this entire site had nothing. There was just a small bush there between 5 and 7. There was no coverage at all to look down into this property. So I think the amount of screening that he's putting in is really going to deflect people.
What about
seeing
the
something.
eastern-facing neighbor? They only have a fence between them?
So
6
number 3 here, which we did many years ago, that had recently changed hands, young couples in there, and they had no issue. So
The property also slopes down that way.
it does slope
naturally,
It does
so it's
slope away a little bit.
But, so there's nothing blocking it from their vantage point? There's nothing blocking, there's a fence there blocking it, but no trees?
6 foot
6-foot
fence.
fence?
And I think they have a little bit of landscaping that currently exists on their property as well.
What's the height of the structure, the final height right now?
The final height, if approved, would be 12 feet.
And you have 12,
You have a 12-foot arborvitae.
yeah, I feel like 12 foot high for those trees isn't gonna be enough, personally.
12 foot would be the ridge, so the entire thing would be covered.
At eye view, but you're in a lower elevation.
If you're at a lower elevation, you're not, unless you're gigantor and you're 20 feet tall, you're not going to be able to see over that. You're looking at an angle upward, right?
Right. I still think there's other species out there that could be taller than 12 feet.
As a screening, I think this is the best option.
So I think we're going to read this condition of approval, and if we find that these trees just don't survive, need to be replaced, can we ask them to put something in that might give more screening?
Sure, we can craft the condition to reference the species that they're proposing on the plan, or a species that will have similar features, particularly the height and the width.
Right. Similar or greater features.
Or greater, right.
Right. Okay. I don't have any more comments. This is a public hearing?
It is.
Cool. Give us a second. So this is an open public hearing. It's still open, I guess?
Yes.
Sure. So I'll make another motion to open the public hearing on this application, 25-65, 5 Green Meadow Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure. Yeah, could you come up, please?
We're here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Formisano. I live at 9 Green Meadow Road. I've lived here since I was 16. I'm now almost 80, so I have a lot of history, and I know Eastchester. I wrote something about how we feel about this property that I live 2 houses away from. So, if I could. From what we understand, the shed that was built at 5 Green Meadow Road is too high and is going to be reduced approximately 2 feet lower than it is right now. However, even with this 2-foot subtraction, the building is still way too big to fit into the tiny space provided at the back of the home. If you go past on 6 Leslie Road and look at it, it looks like it's just falling down the street. It's hideous. And what it does to the atmosphere of the whole community is depressing, to say the least. Anyway, this building is way too big to fit into the tiny space provided at the back of the home. It still presents as this 2-home structure on a relatively small lot. It looks like 2 houses just built together on a 1-family plot. From our attendance at the Eastchester Building Department meetings and our own private meetings with the Eastchester Building Department, it has been determined that the existing building code laws were initially created to be lenient with the definite height, width, and size of these structures. They are supposed to hopefully adjust these incorrect sizings in the future. That's what we were told. So to make them shorter, and to make the structure smaller. The structure at 5 Green Meadow Road has now been up almost 2 years without the benefit of a completed outside finish to its sides, and the only thing covering the roof is a continuously flapping piece of plastic that I look at every day, and it's hideous. And I'm just waiting for it to hit my house and take all my structure down. And pleased that it doesn't happen, but it's sure a possibility. Needless to say, this structure is far from its best standard as a future building. Our proposal: take down the oversized monstrosity to the ground. Let the Eastchester Building Department direct the execution of the new building codes that should be put in place, and have 5 Green Meadow Road build a new structure according to these new statutes. They said they were going to put new statutes in, so why let this house go? That's breaking all the statutes. They should have done this before. They didn't. Things happen. That's just way of life. But they said they were going to change the statutes. For their trouble, the 5 Green Meadow Road home will be paid by the town of Eastchester. Just was my suggestion, I think it's a good one. The full value of what was spent to erect the present structure that is mentioned is now a downtrodden state due to it being exposed to the elements for the last 2 years, with just the basics up, the siding, and again, just plastic on the top. Doing these procedures will ensure that the family at 5 Green Meadow Road will have a sound structure in place that is secure and compliant with Eastchester town ordinances. Also, that the people of Eastchester will know that the value of their homes and properties remain safe and intact going forward. Please consider this proposal as a genuinely good, sound tactic going forward. Thank you. Thank you. We live, you think, well, you know, he'll do it. This is going to bite you over and over in the future, I guarantee you, because it is 2 houses on one tiny lot. The woman that lives behind, she lives at 6 Leslie, is here today. I saw what it's done to her property. It's horrible. If you go past 6 Leslie Road and look at it, you go, what is that? What is coming down the hill? It looks like it's falling down the hill. I guarantee you that all the houses in Eastchester, I can't say how or why, but you got to do, are going to be affected by this. And the prices are going to go down, absolutely going to go down. And, you know, I'm getting ready to leave this to my children. I would like to leave them the value of the house that I worked so long. We had it 60 years. And we did everything by the book and everything by the rules, and we had to sign all the things, and everything that you told us we had to do. We did. This guy just came in to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. He built the first structure. I watched his men just go in there and build the whole structure with no permits, no ordinances. He just did whatever the hell he wanted to do. And they did a good job. They built it within 2 days. The structure was up. But he owns a bodega in Mount Vernon, has a lot of people coming in and out of his house. And I just wonder what is going to happen in the future. I can't say, but you could all guess what's going to happen in the future. And if it hits the newspapers, the value of every home in Eastchester is going to go down significantly. And I mean that with my whole heart, and I know that for a fact. This is not going to go away. It's not going to be okay. It's not going to be a cute little house. It's 2 houses on one property. It is disgusting. And what he's going to do with it in the future, that it's for his wife and children, I don't think so. I know from being there. I've been in his house. I went to visit them just to be nice because he had a 2-story ladder, and his.
Please
I'm
let
still
the,
talking.
hang
He
on
had
one sec, please.
2-story ladder in his backyard. I thought one of his children were going to get hurt. I'm a social worker, so I went to say, take the ladder down. Your kid's going to get hurt. And when I was there visiting, just for half an hour, just to welcome to the neighborhood, I walked up to where the kitchen is, and there was somebody hiding in his kitchen. That's a fact. And this person, I said hello, and they just looked at me. I ran out of the house. I was terrified. So this is, what's coming in the future is going to affect everyone in this room if you live in
If the
Eastchester.
implication
I
is,
guarantee you the prices of your house are going to go down. Go ahead, Phil. I'm sorry.
if the implication is that this is going to be used as a residence, that cannot and will not be the case.
Yeah, well, the police will be coming every night.
You
I'm
can,
sure.
you can include a condition of the
wants to
approval
live like that?
prohibiting that. It's not a permitted use under the zoning law, so it's.
It's not a permitted use, and just it will not happen, I'm certain of that.
The police are going to come, but the structure's still going to be there. The police will definitely come. I'll be the first person to call. Because I look at it every day and I cry. Because it's so ugly and it's so unnecessary. This man doesn't even speak English. So why is he allowed to come in and just take over the whole neighborhood and do whatever he wants and break every rule in the book? Why? When I had to, for 60 years, obey every rule and go through everything and sign it and do everything correctly, I did it. That's the way it was, and we did it, and we understood. But he just comes in and takes over the whole place. I guarantee you this is not going to go away, not for the next 10 years, and he has 3 children. He lives in a 2-bedroom house. You know what? He's going to have more children. His wife is very young. And you know what? He's going to move out. And what's going to happen when the next people take over? It's a nightmare. It's 2 houses away from me, and I got to live with it every day. I want it to end, and I'm begging you to do something about this. Change it. Take it down.
I wish there were an easier way to address this. I don't think there is.
No, you have to take it down.
There really isn't.
What is that?
What's that?
What is the
There is not an easier way to address this.
Not an easier way.
No, there really isn't.
It's against the regulations. Just take it down.
No, we can't. So the zoning allows the structure of that size. That's what was built.
And they're changing the laws. They said, because I met with the building
I
department.
imagine they will. I hope they will. But I'm pretty sure this is grandfathered in under the zoning code under which it was
Pay more for
built.
what he built and just build a new one, the normal size.
We're taking a lot of heat for the zoning code, which we didn't write. All we can do is say that's what the code allows. I can't change the code right now. I wish I could. We can't. It has to go back to zoning. It has to be rewritten, and then future jobs will not be able to put structure of this size. Right now, we're kind of stuck with the zoning code we have. That's what it was built under.
Yeah, and you said it yourself that this has been sitting here for 2 years. I don't know if it's been a full 2 years, but certainly this has not been just a build whatever you want and use it to your heart's content situation. I know that the applicant has had to retain an architect to redesign this, and there have been a number of different conditions placed on even a prospective application here. What we're trying to do, and the reason that this was referred to the Architectural Review Board at the last time it appeared before this board, is to use the example I gave with my own property, to try to mitigate the effect
How can
on
you
the
mitigate this
neighbors.
house without tearing it down?
We're trying to cover it up
And
with
even if he moves
arborvitae.
out, you know, the next family's gonna come, it's two houses on a tiny plot of land. It's taking down the values of all the houses. It's destroying Eastchester. Believe me, this is going to destroy Eastchester, at least on my side of the street. And Lord, I don't want that to happen. And nobody wants that to happen. We work so hard to maintain it, to do everything right, to go by every rule in the book, and all of a sudden, this guy comes in, doesn't even speak English.
I don't really
Which
think.
is fine, you know,
I'm
that's it. But you know
just-
what? Don't destroy our neighborhood and be allowed to do it and letting him do it. I understand this. Change the law and take it
So,
down.
if-
I'm begging
if-
you to do that. I'm begging you to do that. Okay? That's all. I
As-
think your lady next to me, the list behind it,
Great,
would like to say
thank
something.
you.
Thank
So,
you. I
thank-
really, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. So is there something we could put as a condition of approval? You're welcome. So is there something we could put as a conditional approval that obviously the usage is going to be enforced, but
Sure.
it's never going to become anything more than an accessory structure?
Yeah, so
That
what we
kind of
could
goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yes, because that use is not permitted right now. So you could include a condition saying that no dwelling or occupancy is permitted. You know, no dwelling unit may be installed in the accessory building, and use of the accessory building as a dwelling unit is prohibited. You could certainly include that condition. That is not a permitted use, but you can include it as a condition as well if you wish.
Is there plumbing?
There is electrical service, I believe, but no plumbing.
What is it being used for?
Please do anything you can to take this down. I'm begging you.
Sure.
I'm begging you.
So I
Since
think.
16 years, I've lived here and I've done everything I was supposed to do. I'm begging you to take this house down. It's going to destroy all
Sure.
the prices
It's,
of the houses.
you know what, I hear you. We live in a beautiful community. It's well-respected. All the houses are beautiful. I don't think something of this nature is going to ruin everyone's house value all throughout Eastchester. I really do. It's a beautiful town. No, I think that houses in the immediate area will.
I'm still alive. We're still going to be talking, it's
I-
not funny. We're still going to be talking about this because if you go by 6 Leslie Road, I just see what a nightmare it is. And you're
I just want
Thank
to
you.
show a picture of my.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
You're
Why don't you
welcome.
Announce your
Next.
name and address. Yeah.
Good, Jared. Thank you. And I need it for my car.
Hi, my name is Angela Elliott. I live at 6 Leslie Road, right in the back of 5 Green Meadow. Again, the structure is extremely big.
Yeah, and Ms. Elliott, you were here
Yes.
in October, right? Yeah.
I just wanted to show a picture. I would just want them to lower it a little bit, so when I come outside, I can see my outside, and I don't have to see this. And there also is a little problem, these trees that are growing, they're not maintained. And I have pictures, and if the shed is here, and the trees are all here, how is anybody even gonna be able to maintain them when they're so close against the fence? So I don't know how I could show you this picture.
Maybe put on the easel. I
Put
think
it on
you
the
could zoom in.
ledge there. Yeah.
Yeah, just put it on the ledge and Gary will zoom in.
But you see,
Uh,
they're already
think-
dead, they're so close to the tree.
Can you step away?
Yeah.
So Gary can zoom in on it? There you go. Okay, you can go now.
This is looking from your house?
You're up.
Yeah, so that's my backyard,
This is like here.
and then you come outside and you see that, and then the trees, they're already starting to die. And how is anybody even gonna maintain them if he's gonna run trees throughout that whole side there?
Yeah, the trees are already.
Yeah, the
aren't
dead
surviving.
trees are going away. They're going to put new trees. That's going to be part of this approval is going to be, obviously, those trees have to leave. And if they go into disrepair, they got to be fixed again. Not only that, we're going to ask them to get a species that will survive there. I think we're going to, I don't know how to answer the question about how do you maintain them, don't know.
Yeah, how is this going to be policed? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the question,
Is-
because, you
So
know,
if,
because I'm concerned looking, I've seen that myself. I commented before that it looks like 60% of the trees there, rough estimate,
They are.
are brown and they're dead.
Sure.
Never gonna
And if
survive.
that was the first go-round, what makes us think the second go-round is going to be any easier? Because there may just be a problem with a planting in such a tight area. And maybe there's bad soils there. I don't know. But what happens if, and this is a very real possibility, the brand-new, very best trees don't thrive. And we heard that, so the nursery will come back and replace them. Well, I know the nursery isn't probably going to come back and replace them, indefinitely, and 5 years from now, and whatever. So but this is a continuing, because to me, this is a deal breaker if you cannot shield this structure from Miselia, from the Farmasanos, from all of the neighbors who have complained about what is admittedly a very large structure, a disproportionately large structure, even if it is technically code compliant. So to me, it is critical that if we are going to consider approving something, that we have to know that this is going to have a result like the example that I gave with my own property, where we were able to put in arborvitaes that thrived and actually performed the function for which we put them up there, which was to provide us with privacy. And in fact, one of the bonuses that came from one of the bonuses that came from putting up those trees is that they are just filled with birds right now. And so we have just almost a bird sanctuary in our backyard from all of these big trees that bushes that the birds nest in. So, that was an unexpected bonus that came from that. But getting back to the issue, how do we make sure, not a year from now or 2 years from now, I understand that there may be an easier fix there, but what happens a few years down the road? How is this enforced when a neighbor complains that there's a dead arborvitae? It itself is an eyesore, and if they take it down, then I'm looking at something that I'm not supposed to be looking at.
So the condition would require it to be removed and replaced. It would be enforced like any other zoning violation. It would be a violation of the site plan condition. The owner would get a notice of violation, an opportunity to correct the condition, and if they didn't, then an enforcement proceeding would be commenced. That would be the mechanism to enforce the condition. As to your other question, which maybe is the more complicated question, what if after good tries, nothing just grows here? The condition as drafted doesn't really provide for that. Maybe what you are looking for is for the applicant to have a landscape architect evaluate this and give you some guidance as to what's appropriate and what can grow here.
And what the options would be afterwards. Yeah, just to lay out all the different scenarios coming from a landscape architect. It's a great idea.
As part of the condition of approval? You're saying modify the condition to have?
No, I would want to see it up front.
I think you probably want to see that before
Yeah.
finalizing any kind of condition, because if the landscape architect were to say, the emerald green arborvitae are not appropriate here, but you could try this, or if they give you information about what you might do there to make it receptive to the emerald green arborvitae, I think you probably want that information in advance.
Yeah, as I said, to me,
Like as a
that's,
part of this review.
if it doesn't work, that's a deal breaker for me. For me, maybe not for the rest of this board. But if it works, I think that is the most palatable solution. If this works, if these trees grow, you will have green in your backyard.
How come not even have the trees? I think the trees are even worse, because now he has to maintain them. Before, I had this monster structure, at least it's, the structure, I would just see this. Now I'm gonna see all these dead trees.
You're gonna get birds.
No, we're saying,
Well, we're talking about trees, and we're talking about getting a landscape architect to opine that the variety of tree that is going to be planted there has a good likelihood of thriving, so that it will perform the function. Now, granted, it's alive, it would be a bush that, at least for your part of it, you probably want to trim back once a year or every couple of years. But it doesn't require a lot of maintenance. It really doesn't. And like I said, you get birds.
essentially what we're getting,
Remember, if I'm looking at the front of my house, and here's my house, if you just look like this way, that's all you see. You do
Yep.
not see my backyard, you just.
But the way that this, and given the fact that you're looking slightly up, because we've all taken a look at from where your property is, if these arborvitaes go in and they perform as hoped, as anticipated, you're just gonna see at a certain point, you're just gonna see those arborvitaes. You're not gonna even see the structure.
So are we asking the applicant to hire a landscape architect to take another pass at this, or
Yes.
right now? Okay, good. Then that's what we're doing. I mean, we're saying we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to ask the applicant to get someone who's an expert at this, tell us what could put there, and we'll provide the maximum amount of screening. It should be beautiful for you. I don't want you to see dead trees. I don't want you to see that. So they have to come up with something that looks good
Yep.
for the neighboring properties. So that's what we're
To
going to
to
ask.
prove it to us, at least for me, it'll be basically a green wall behind your fence, so you won't even see the structure of trees of some sort. That's my perspective. The
And the
landscape
same,
architect
and the
will have to
same
prove
should
to
be
us.
true for the neighbors.
Going back to
Up
my
the hill,
point, that's
yeah.
why I was saying a different type of tree, something higher. I'd rather, being that the code is the code and they technically, they're allowed to do this, then we want to cover it with the entire green wall so nobody sees it, even personally from the street view.
And
Some type of thought coming from a landscape architect to create a solution to our code problem.
And
So
we
this way it
will,
mitigates it.
sorry, and we'll also ask him how to best maintain them, given the confined space.
Or her.
It's generic. Okay, so change of plans.
Okay? So you'll continue the public hearing on this
Yep,
for,
just say so,
Do we have
okay.
anyone else?
No, we're good. Oh, any other one, sorry,
Yeah.
any other one else from the public? Yeah, don't forget, anyone else from the public who would like to comment on the application?
I guess
No, okay, good.
the only other thing is, for the perspective of the applicant as well as everybody else, there's an existing structure that just looks awful right now, right? There's nothing that, being that we're pushing this out even more, there's nothing that we could do in the meantime, right? It is what it is.
yeah, I mean, they have a stop work order to stop working, which is why they haven't
Well,
That-
advanced
that's
the
unfortunate
structure.
for all
Can
parties.
we, is there any way we could let
Cover it up
this?
in a
No, what's the
prettier
next
fashion?
move for this? Approve.
After your board acts, then the building inspector can give an authorization to continue. There's
we
no other approvals that
can't-
are needed.
Change the height until we have an application that makes sense.
Correct.
You have to have another month of looking at it. You're gonna have to have another month of looking at that while they come up with something.
Unless you're okay with it.
Everybody's gonna have to look at it.
No, you'll like what they end up putting there in the end. We'll make sure of that. Okay?
But once this board makes a determination, it doesn't go to any other.
It'll just go back to the building inspector at that time, then the applicant can
Correct.
proceed.
Okay.
Right, assuming
So-
it's an approval.
So
Yes.
we're actually closer to a resolution than it might seem. But I think we,
Yeah, it took a while. We
Yeah.
got there. Right. Okay, thank you for your help. This-
And then I think Michael might just
Yeah,
have
I
one other
just,
question about the plan.
what is the actual use of the structure?
I think that's the applicant.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
So the structure is going to be used for housing of garden equipment in one area.
I wouldn't use the term housing. It's probably not a good storage.
Storage, sorry, of lawn equipment, snow blowers, et cetera. And then there's a secondary space where, so underneath this open roofed area, they plan on having a table and chairs, and then they'll be able to put them away inside into another ante-area, but not with the lawn equipment, et cetera.
So,
I'm just wondering, I understand that he's allowed to do it, so we can't step on toes there. But I also try to take the other side of it and say, perhaps he could do the neighborly thing and do something like shrink wrap the furniture and not build a larger structure just to house table and chairs in the wintertime. Just some sort of a compromise where he could get what he wants on the property, big enough, but not something that's taking up airspace for the neighbors around him as a neighborly thing to do. You know, when I was putting a fence in my yard, they recommended you can go as high as 6 feet, but it would be more neighborly if you did it 3 feet at this level. And I happen to agree with that, so I don't know if he's willing to bend at all with.
So this structure is built at 13 and a half feet. And at this point, if this was to be approved, he would have to remove the entire roof structure.
Yeah, but
And the cost of all that, and then to reframe it down to 12 feet, it's a large expense.
But I'm just
So
out of
he's being very
curiosity.
neighborly doing this.
13 feet tall for snow blowers and what's all
No,
the
it's
height
just to
needed?
create pitch so that snow and rain will shed off the roof. Now it's a much lesser pitch to accommodate the neighbors and their vision.
What if that requires electrical?
So they're gonna have a fan, they're gonna have a couple of lights where the table is.
But that's for storage of the table.
No, so there is an open, if you look at the plan,
Yep.
There's a patio outside the door.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind, disregard. Part of it is, okay, never mind.
right, so they're gonna
gotcha.
have barbecues, et cetera, you know, in this open area, and then, you know, they're gonna be able to put their chairs and stuff away.
Right.
And this is really where that
The back
other
portion is the
storage is,
storage. Got
where
it.
that single man door is in the back.
Understood, thank you.
So just to Mike's point about doing the neighborly thing, since they're reframing the roof, everything's coming down. It'll be just as easy to move two walls a foot to be neighborly. It's not a big deal.
The foundation is all built, you're basically suggesting to tear it down to the ground, take out the
No,
foundation.
not at all.
Oh, okay, so how do
I'm
they
not.
do that?
You just shore the thing up, move the foundation, put up another wall. Not that
I think
complicated.
that's a big ask at this point, especially
No,
since.
I'm just saying, his request wasn't
Right.
overspoken. It was, you want to do the night thing, make everyone happy,
Right.
take a foot off both sides, and
So
everyone walk away.
He's already,
I know.
he's already talked about the lowering of the roof.
Sure, thank you. Thank him for us. So back to landscape architect. Can you get him to come up with a species that we think will live there and thrive? And can someone draw an elevation?
So, yeah, let me just
Let
stop you
me
one
finish my
second.
sentence.
Okay, just
I wasn't done.
okay.
So what we'd also like to see is someone show us what this is going to look like from the neighbor's yard. So please draw something really pretty that the woman who came up here says she's going to look at every day. I need something. Right now, I have it in my head, but I don't really know what it's going to look like. So when that architect is hired, please ask him to draw enough elevations from enough aspects where we all feel good that this is being covered. To you.
The landscaping that's currently there was installed some time ago, I guess last year. And since this process has started, he's gotten, you know, he's been a little, I guess, taken back by the whole effort, unfortunately. And if you went in the backyard, you'd see that there's stuff on his lawn, and he's just kind of like upset with the whole thing. And I think that there was no irrigation that was installed. There should be watering irrigation lines that will constantly keep these things watered. And if they're watered, they're going to grow.
Yeah,
I just-
get a landscape architect to, to tell us this is the species. If they're watered, this is what's going to happen. I want to make sure they have enough space. That's a concern, and that the particular species has enough space, and if it's done right, and I keep coming back to my example, it can work. Even though this wasn't something, in my case, that I wished for, it's something you adapt to, and it ended up being just fine. I have all the screening I need at that spot, and that's what I envision for this property if it's going to work. And even what you have here, the two rows of trees, at a right angle to each other, looks like it, in theory, it could address the neighbor behind and the neighbors, I guess, up the hill, who are the ones who have voiced opposition to this.
Sure.
And if that's the case, I just want to know that it's going to work. That's what I want to know, and I think my fellow board members are saying the same thing.
And in addition to that, with that study being made, as far as sunlight, time of sunlight, and how whatever species is chosen by you or this landscape architect, how it's proven that they will survive based on just the characteristics in this area.
I have these exact trees, and I can tell you that they will survive.
But you
And
don't
they're-
have that structure at
I-
that location, so what I'm
I
saying
have a
is. what I'm saying-
similar situation. I don't have that structure, I don't have that fence, and I don't own that property, but I'm just telling you, I have something very similar, that's all.
We all do.
But we'll get someone else so that you
Yep.
have that understanding.
Yeah, and please give us renderings so we could understand what it's going to look like when it's all done. Thank you. So, thank you. Have a good evening. So this public hearing stays open. Cool.
Okay. Good.
Next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, that's yours. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Next application is 25-68, Great Day Family Child Care.
I'm not understanding something. It's for the speech, you know, or we can say it's 13 feet. Most people get a Home Depot. Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Board. My name is Lucia Chiocchio. I'm with Cuddy and Fader. I'm here on behalf of Great Day Family Child Care. We were last before you in December. We applied for site plan approval to permit the establishment of an intermittent daycare at the lower level of the existing home at 32 Harney Road. We're also seeking referral to the ZBA for consideration of a special use permit and for the parking proposal, area variance for parking. I'm joined tonight by the project team professionals, Elaine Dew and Wyatt Gerber from AKRF, and Peter Gato from Peter Gato Associates Architects. I'm going to start with just a very brief review of the proposal, since it's been a couple months. I'll briefly discuss the updates we talked about at the December meeting, and then I'll turn it to the team professionals to review the updates provided in the supplemental submission. I also thought it'd be helpful to help clarify the daily operations of the daycare with respect to staffing, the age range of the children to be cared for, and the drop-off pickup schedules. So a brief review of the proposal. It's for the caring of 15 children, which would be a cap and below the 25 children permitted under the zoning code. 3 daily employees will be present. 1 of the employees would reside at the residence. The daycare would operate from 7 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. It would not be open on the weekends. There are 2 secure play areas that would be provided away from the street, both with pathways to allow for safe access, and those pathways were shown on the drawings. No changes to the footprint of the house are proposed. The applicant, as you know, is well-versed in running daycares, as it runs a daycare in New Rochelle. The property is located in the one-family R6 residential district, where intermittent daycares are permitted uses subject to special permit review by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And as you also may know, the lower level of the home was previously used as a doctor's office since sometime in the 1960s. So at the December meeting, we talked about reduction of the impervious surface at the site from 4,210 square feet to 4,126 square feet. We did prepare a drawing in response to the comments regarding the coverage calculation, and we will submit that drawing. That's part of the drawing set.
Thank you.
The play areas were expanded from 829 square feet to 880 square feet. Under the code, the requirements are a minimum of 50 square feet per child. So for 15 children, a max of 15 children, that's 750 square feet. So we're providing a little bit more than that. The play area surface proposed is grass, and there won't be any structures in the play area, no swings or anything, and we'll make sure that the drawings are updated to note this. Both play areas will be surrounded by a 4-foot-tall black vinyl-coated chain-link fence with self-closing gates and a panic bar. And as I said, the travel or walkways were shown on the drawing with respect to the play areas. So I thought, like I said earlier, I thought it'd be helpful just to talk a little bit about the daily operations. So we talked about this at the December meeting. The applicant will set up a staggered scheduling for drop-off and pickups. So that would include 15-minute intervals, and within each 15-minute interval, it will be limited to 3 drop-offs or 3 pickups. So the drop-off pickup area includes 3 parking spaces. So within that 15-minute interval, you will not have any more than 3 cars. For a maximum of 15 children, the 15-minute intervals are 1 hour and 15 minutes. When a family signs up for child care services, their contract will include an assigned drop-off and pickup interval. This way, only 3 vehicles will be in that area. And as we discussed, drop-offs and pickups will be monitored by staff. So in our most recent submission, we provided a study of the drop-off and pickup timeframes from the Great Day Family Child Care Facility in New Rochelle. The study revealed that the average duration of all trips is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, with the median duration of 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Not very much time at all. So given these results, the monitored staggering schedule for drop-offs and pickups will ensure a predictable and well-managed traffic pattern. So with respect to staffing, as we indicated, 1 employee will be at the house. So that means 2 will be coming to the location. 1 of the 2 non-resident employees will arrive at 7 a.m. and coordinate with the resident employee to monitor the morning staggering drop-offs and care for the children as they arrive. The other non-resident employee will arrive at 8 a.m. During the day, the staff typically takes break during the child's nap time. So when the children are napping, that's when the staff takes break. And employees typically stay on the premises for lunch breaks. There was a question as to whether they would be leaving for lunch breaks. And this is consistent with the New Rochelle facility. Our client was explaining that, going out to lunch every day is expensive. So most people just either bring their lunch or stay on the premises. It's just a lot easier, more convenient. With respect to the children, as I indicated, it will be a maximum of 15 children. The children will range in age from 18 months to approximately 4 years old. And based on this age range, the 3 employees complies with the required staffing by the state for this age range. So after our appearance in December, the applicant's traffic consultants, AKRF, contacted and spoke with Dr. Phil Greeley, your traffic consultant, just to review the plan and some of the things that were discussed at the meeting in December. On February 9th, the applicant's team met with Ms. Wolfson, Police Chief Rodriguez, Highway Superintendent Latella, and Building Inspector Valente to review the project. So now I think I'll turn it over to Wyatt and Elaine to talk about some of the updates that were a result of these meetings.
Thank you. My name is Wyatt Gerber. I'm the traffic engineer from AKRF. And like she mentioned, I'm joined here tonight by Elaine Du, PE, also from AKRF. Now, to begin, we wanted to go over what we updated from the last meeting from our traffic management plan. And we also have some updates based on some recent comments that we got from the planning board, that we got from Dr. Phil Greeley. And so I wanted to go over that. And those updates combined with the operational information we just went over, we believe that the site will operate efficiently and safely. So I'm going to go over to the board and kind of talk over the updates that we have. So there's quite a few updates, and I want to start on the bottom left-hand portion of the drawing here. This area right here is that right turn, and there had been a little bit of confusion as in terms of who actually owns the intersection here. We did talk a little bit more with the county, and they have informed us that, Harney is county, but then this area over here is town, and their belief is that this area here is actually town-owned and operated. Now that's important because right now, today, there exists a sign approximately here where my pen is pointing that is a yield ahead sign. The intent of that sign is to notify drivers who are turning from Harney right onto Downer/Scarsdale that they need to be prepared to yield ahead for any pedestrians that might be crossing here or any vehicles that might be merging on there from the other side of Harney. The issue with that sign is that it is located away past the crosswalk. So it's essentially telling people to be careful of pedestrians after they should have already been watching out for pedestrians. So our idea was to do twofold. One, bring this up to current standards with the MUTCD compliance and bring that yield ahead sign approximately over here, further along Harney, and then to add 2 new yield signs approximately here and here, approximately here and here before the crosswalk to let drivers know to be careful of pedestrians before the crosswalk and not after it. We did talk with the county about this plan and then briefly with Dr. Greeley as well, and the county had recommended that due to the actual distance from the intersection, they recommended not to put that yield ahead sign there. So the new plan would then be to keep the yield signs there, which, as we discussed, would be a town jurisdiction, hence why the discussion earlier. So if that were to go through, then we could update the plan accordingly to remove that yield ahead sign that's currently there. I want to move to where most of the actual modifications have taken place, which is the center of the plan here. So right here in the driveway that's off of Harney, this will be updated to show no modifications at all. We are proposing not to touch that driveway and to confirm there are no pickup and drop-off operations proposed to happen at this driveway. All of those operations will happen in these 3 parking spaces along Downer/Scarsdale, and we are showing here that the width of the driveway is existing approximately over here at the beginning of the gray area, and then it will be extended towards the end of this gray area. We are providing enough space for these 3 parking spaces, one of which, the one all the way on the right-hand side, which is parking space 5, will be a van-accessible ADA parking space. There was a little bit of confusion in our prior comments and submissions about that ADA parking space, and we just want to provide a little clarity. The site is required to provide 1 ADA parking space, of which has to be van accessible. All that really means it's a little bit wider than the other parking spaces you could see directly next to it, and it has that access aisle right there. Now we also have some additional signing and striping here. You can see that the roadway has been changed quite a bit. Now we were able to do this in conjunction with conversations with Dr. Greeley, who, as we discussed in the prior meeting, we noted that Scarsdale has quite a bit of space and width here, approximately enough for 2 cars to be side by side if they were traveling in the same direction. And in order to kind of formally demarcate that and determine how much space is really there, we have taken the existing striping here that shows the center line of the roadway, and we have extended that to approximately where the pickup and drop-off area begins. And we have dimensioned out where the lowest point is, as well as approximately where the lowest point of the other side of the road is. You can see here on this, which is essentially the key direction where people might be taking a left into the driveway or going around them, we have a little bit over 22 feet in width, which would allow us to have 2 11-foot lanes, and typical lane widths are about 10, 11, or 12 feet. And so this would allow us for 2 very typical 11-foot lane widths. This is plenty of space for someone to be here, turning left into here, and if on the odd chance there happens to be someone traveling right behind them at the same time and they need to go further around them, they are able to safely take a right and go around them. Now, in order to also help that movement, because we understand that is a key movement, is the potential for someone to take a left in here, we recognize that currently people may park along this side of Scarsdale. And so we are also proposing to add 2 new signs, one approximately here and one here, that are no stopping signs to show that you can't actually park your vehicle there. And this is very similar to the other side along our site frontage, which already has signage similar to that to show you can't park there. That's important as well for this movement here. If you've driven around here and tried to go from Scarsdale and turn onto Downer, you can notice that the current stop bar, which is located to the south, page south, around here, where I'm marking out with my pen, if there is a car parked here, it is very difficult to see anyone coming from Harney in this movement that I'm demonstrating right here. You have to then instead come up to the intersection and then be able to try and look both ways. There is also a bush on the corner here that also hinders sight visibility. So those reasons are why we are proposing to move the stop bar from its current location to closer to the intersection where people have to stop anyway in order to see both directions of traffic, to make that a safer movement and to increase that sight visibility. Now we also have some of these striping right here to show the movement that you would take if you were on Scarsdale to come up and take a left. And this is to, again, allow for better traffic safety, mobility, and efficiency. And so with all of those updates, we do believe that this would operate safely and efficiently for people attempting to pick up or drop off their children in that pickup drop-off area off of Downer.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, where you have the crosswalk here, underneath the triangle, okay, on your illustration, that's one car width, right?
Can you point that out again?
See the
Below the
triangle directly beneath it, the crosswalk there?
Right here?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the right turn off of Brook Street, right, or Harney?
I'm not
Harney,
sure of the exact width of it, but it would not allow for two cars.
It's one car, yeah. And this is a very, I don't live in this area, but I've been here many, many times. It's a very difficult intersection because you're coming off of the Bronx River Parkway or coming across the Bronx River Parkway. It's, there are two lanes, and right at that stops, there's a traffic light there. There's a left turn only lane, and then there's either a right turn or straight is the other lane. So the lane from which you would be making the right turn onto Downer is already sort of a bottleneck where you're getting the traffic going forward and the traffic going right. And I believe it's, it strikes me that envisioning this as two lanes of traffic going in that direction is wishful thinking. It just, you can put all the signage up you want. That's blind signage coming around the corner. And I just don't, I will need a lot more convincing to believe that that's two lanes, based on my own experience with this site.
If I may respond to that, Elaine Dew, licensed professional engineer in the state of New York, traffic engineer with AKRF. Just to clarify, we are not changing anything about the lane width over here. We're not modifying anything.
But that's a one-car width, right?
Yes, that provides enough width for only one car, and we're not proposing to widen that. Over here, we're just changing the striping slightly so that now you're allowing a vehicle to pass by if there is, for instance, someone waiting to turn left into the driveway here on Scarsdale Avenue. So we're not proposing to actually stripe a second lane, but we're showing the measurements to show that it's wide enough so that you can pass if that is needed.
Okay, I remain skeptical, that's all.
What is that width? Can you just zoom?
Which width? This width over here?
I think it's 22.
You said it was 22 feet.
It's just over 22 feet.
And then there's another 11 feet on the other side?
Yes, this is 17 on the north side.
So 22 feet on that southern side.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is sufficient, again, for a vehicle to pass by if someone's turning left.
Sure.
And I guess currently the usage is just one lane. Is that what you're?
Yeah, current usage is just one lane. However, it's striped as a very, very wide lane.
So just to clarify, the intention is it for still to function as one lane. However, it could accommodate if you had a driver. That's what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
Striping, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry. Just curiosity, is there striping there now, or is it all faded
so
away?
there's no striping right here. There is striping that extends to this point here towards my finger.
That stops?
And then it just completely stops. So we're proposing to keep all of this the same. We're not touching this. There's also some traffic delineators here to kind of prevent you from going off of this way. We're not touching those either.
Right.
We are going to be just extending the striping to show there is enough space here.
Got it.
And I just want to add on that currently people do park here, and even with a parked car, there's enough space for someone to go and pass them on the other side. So there is enough space for two cars.
That's unrelated, because you're proposing to have no parking there.
Yeah,
Just-
if people are driving in one lane and they see a car on the right, they're not going to hit the car. They're going to go past the car. That happens all the time. I understand what you're talking about is changing the traffic pattern by eliminating the parking
So-
and leaving space for a car to be able to go around. I understand, and I don't doubt that that can work. I just am skeptical whether it will
I
work.
do want to clarify that our intent with this is not to change the traffic pattern. We do not want to do that. We're just saying, because there were concerns about what were to happen if someone were to be here, for example, by my finger, and attempting to turn left here, and let's say they have to stop momentarily before doing so. In that instance, someone would be able to go around them in order to pass safely. And that's all we're trying to do with the
No,
restriping.
I understand. I understand.
Just one thing I wanted to remind the board of, we've had this issue in a couple of applications. Your board doesn't have the authority to change the parking restrictions on a street, so that's something the town board has to do.
I also wanted to make a note. Currently, as Wyatt has said, parking is allowed here. However, if you've ever turned right here onto Scarsdale Avenue and encountered a parked car, that is not safe. It's not a safe maneuver. You're at that point going to immediately maneuver around that car. And if you're in fact trying to turn right to continue down this road here, Scarsdale Ave, it affects your safety in terms of your maneuverability around that vehicle. So we believe that removing parking over here is overall a safety improvement. Beyond that, these are improvements that we've discussed with Dr. Greeley. These are improvements that he had recommended, and we've collaborated on this. We understand that a lot of the residents' concerns stem with safety and operations of this intersection, or both intersections combined together. And these improvements not only improve safety for access to our site, but also general safety for residents traveling in the area, improving your sight distance, improving your turning maneuverability and operations. Overall, it's a safety improvement for the community.
Are those parking, are they metered, or they're just street parking? Are they residential parking, time limits, anything like that?
There's just no signage there, so it's almost open-ended. There's nothing there that tells you what you can or can't do.
And how many cars could presumably fit there on that?
I'm not sure of the number off the top of my head. Approximately 3 or 4.
So residential probably, if anything?
What we had noticed when Wyatt was in the field, he had noticed vehicles parked on that side of the road, and we believe that these may be residents, or not residents, but people parking here so that they can go to the train station north or potentially access the Bronx River. We're not certain, but we don't believe that they're residents parking here.
Right, it sounds like they have to go regardless, right? They're just making it even more difficult. Just an opinion.
Sorry, I have two. I know our consultant's probably going to share feedback, but 2 questions just for me to clarify, I have a better understanding. When anybody leaves the facility, is there a certain type of regulation that they have to only go down downer? They can't go the other way, right? Is that going to be like a regulation?
There is no regulation. But there will be, I think it's important.
Will the child care facility enforce something that, hey, when you drop off your kids, you can only pull out and go that way? Or is that even something that can be enforced?
So we are not proposing any, that's what we would call turn restrictions or driveway access restrictions. Okay. We're not proposing that at the moment. So a vehicle exiting the driveway would be allowed to continue down Downer. They would be allowed to continue to Scarsdale onto Harney, whichever direction they want. However, if the planning board is interested in restricting that, I'm open to hearing those
Okay,
suggestions.
and then another question I have is, do you know if there's street parking on that side right now, on the I guess the adjacent neighbor to this?
No, there is no street parking.
There is no, so that's a clear space for driving over there.
There is street parking further down, but along the site frontage, there's a sign that says you can't park here.
How far does that go? Does that go towards the neighboring property or not?
I would have to check, but I believe that there is parking around
Like right
this
after the
point
driveway.
onward.
Okay, thanks.
So, hold on, so further to Joe's comment about how they exit, they enter head in, right?
That's correct.
So they have to back out.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
so you would think there's only one way to back out, and that's going that way. They could actually back out and go downer?
They would be able to do that movement, and there's also going to be
You say they would or would
an
not?
employee here. What was that?
They would or would not be able to?
Would.
Would not.
No, would.
Would be
Would.
able to.
Oh,
They
even though it's kind of silly, they would do it. They could do it, right?
I wouldn't comment on their traffic movements or patterns after visiting
Got
the
it,
site.
I agree.
Just based on general traffic patterns in the neighborhood, because we're primarily expecting vehicles to come to the site to and from Harney Road, we would expect that they would leave the site in the same manner.
It is. Just one more comment. I think you explained that the town of Eastchester Highway controls most of that intersection, but the county controls what?
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange scenario, but the Harney Road itself is the road controlled by the county, and then the town would own essentially what is this area onward, and so that's why there's that confusion here with like this portion here, although it might technically be considered a Harney Road right, is actually a town jurisdiction area.
Right, so all of the other traffic control devices that you've spoken of are under the town's jurisdiction.
For that portion, yes, which is why the town would have to be the one that would have the jurisdiction to relocate or change any of the signing that is along that area and then onward.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Dr. Greeley the same thing, but has the town highway been part of the discussion about this?
I believe they were at the meeting on February 9th that we met with them before.
Great.
And they had no comments on that.
Yeah, the highway superintendent didn't offer an opinion on that one way or the other. He did express some concern in the planning memo. He kind of conveyed his comments to me verbally, and I added them to the memorandum for this meeting. You know, his concern is that the conditions in this intersection are variable. They vary greatly, particularly with bad weather. It's a hard area to plow. It's difficult in ice and snow and rain. There's speeding that occurs here. The traffic volumes are significant at times. And all those variables, while it may function in nice weather, okay, in poor weather, I think he's more concerned about how it will function.
I wish he came tonight. It would be nice for him to hear your presentation and see what he has to say. Regardless, I don't have any more questions, guys.
I have a couple school operational questions that might help the perspective of this. I'm not sure who can answer it, but
Sure, I would defer to the attorney's opinion on that.
yeah. And again, I don't know what is like Board of Education jurisdiction or not, but you said it was 18-month to 4-year-olds.
Correct.
Is there certain groupings in the facility based on that, like certain maximum number of children for each group, or between the younger toddlers and the older ones?
Truthfully, I don't know. What I do know is that there'll be a maximum number of children of 15. The 18-month is not considered an infant, so they will not be caring for children that are infants. And the idea is to keep it to 3 employees.
Okay, and then
yeah.
the reason why I'm asking for that is as it relates to the 15-minute intervals. How is it going to be regulated of which people can be coming at certain times? Is that something that the facility will try to schedule and have like only 5 slots open at this hour, and if it's booked, then nobody else could fill those slots?
So the proposal is to have that 15-minute interval and for a maximum of 3 drop-offs or 3 pickups during that 15-minute interval. When a family signs up for care, that will be part of their contract. Say you have this slot. So if the 6:30 to 6:45 is filled, they can't have it.
Great, got it. Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to note, just on the comments about the inclement weather, I did ask my client about, what do they do when it snows? So if the schools are closed, they will close the daycare. They do contract with a plow company, and he says they come very early. We make sure that they come and they plow if it needs to be plowed, the private areas. He also said, based on his experience with New Rochelle location, when the weather's bad, most likely the parents don't want to go out. They don't want to have their kids in the car, and they'll typically work from home because a lot of people can do that. So he's like, when the weather isn't great, a lot of times there's no one there. So
Just further to your comment about plowing, you're saying they do plow promptly after snowfall.
yes,
Where do they put the snow?
I don't know. I can find out, but yeah.
I'm saying they put it in a parking spot.
No.
Well, then it's got to be taken.
Yeah, no.
Right.
The 3 spots
mean,
will be
only
dedicated. I mean,
because-
there's a lawn area there. There's places they can put the snow.
Yeah, that would obviously have to be a condition, but I know when I didn't shovel, but obviously the past 2 snowstorms have really tried everyone's patience.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. I don't have any more comments, guys, do you? So we're going to go to Dr. Greeley, then we're going to go to the public.
Good evening, Philip Greeley from Colliers Engineering and Design. Let's get this right spot. We prepared a letter outlining 6 points. Just to start off, the first point addresses the modifications the applicant has proposed to the pavement area as you come away from Harney Road. Becomes very wide as you get to where the split is of Scarsdale Avenue and Downer. So the applicant's proposal is to delineate it and to, as in the presentation, to make sure that the stop bar is at a location where vehicles can see oncoming traffic from either Downer or coming from the north on Scarsdale Avenue. They've extended the double yellow center line to delineate that. And also, they, as indicated, they're not changing the current lane delineators, or what we call candlesticks that are out there that were installed by the town. In terms of the parking, there is no signing on that west side, so people can park there, and people do park there. Along the site frontage, as indicated, there's no stopping, standing, and it extends to the end of the property. And then as you go further south or southeast on Downer, there's parking on the east side is permitted, not on the west side. In terms of the bypass lane, by striping, and we had asked in our comment for them to dimension, the plan that we were given didn't have all the dimensions on there. To ensure that the lane width was adequate. An 11-foot lane is the standard lane width to use, so that would be adequate to allow a bypass if someone was stopped turning into that space, so the traffic could bypass and not back up onto Harney Road. Those changes are all based on current standards in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. But those changes have to be approved by the town highway superintendent and also the police department. And the no parking or no stopping on the west side would have to be approved by the town board so that it's enforceable. So our first comment really focused on the plan and asking for that additional information. They've updated the plan to show the lane widths. Again, they're contingent on those approvals. So if the highway superintendent doesn't agree with these striping modifications, that's his prerogative, and, you know, with input from the police department. I don't know if I know there were concerns that were raised, but I don't know if they've seen the final plan and have opined on whether they're acceptable to them. So that would have to be a condition of any approval if it got to that point. In terms of the arrival and departures, the applicant's analysis as presented assumes arrival and departures in certain time periods, and based on that shows that it can be accommodated. And again, the question is, you know, how do you enforce it or administer that to make sure that that's kept to that schedule? I think that would have to be a condition of any approval for them to ensure that. At the last meeting, they had presented some video of existing conditions showing what the actual traffic flow was, and we did confirm that they had included the school buses and the B-Line bus in their counts. We actually observed from there the full video that was provided to us. So that was all presented. At the last meeting, the board had asked for some actual simulations. Those haven't been provided. But again, their scheduling of how the arrivals and departures would occur is what their basis is, and that would again have to be, enforced. I don't know how it's administered, but that would be a condition worked into any approvals. In terms of the parking spaces on the site, they've now described the original plan had 2 more spaces on Harney Road, but they were in the right-of-way. And it's my understanding that the building inspector has determined that a total of 9 spaces, I believe, are required under the code. So they will need a variance for even the spaces that are shown on the current plans. In terms of the pickup and drop-off, there was some inconsistencies between the plan and the submitted letter. That was clarified tonight as to the spaces on Scarsdale Avenue and Downer are only for the pickup and drop-offs. But again, that's going to require a ZBA determination. And our last comment is, if the project was approved, that we would recommend a post-opening monitoring. And typically, what you require an applicant to do is to make sure that what they've proposed and what they've predicted is what actuality is. So in other cases, we've reviewed projects, and it's typical with even the state of New York requires now post-opening monitoring to demonstrate how everything is functioned and if there's any modifications or tweaks that are required. So again, that's just a recommendation that we would have on this type of application. Those are our comments. Again, I think that the 3 big things are the parking, they're going to need a variance. 2, the striping modifications, which are critical to this plan, will require the town highway superintendent and police department to approve those. And again, the town board has to would have to implement the no parking signs or no stopping signs on the west side of that portion, only that portion, to do that. So, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, sure. So the technical meeting that occurred between the applicant and I think yourself, you were present? And
So we had discussions when they were preparing the plan in terms of what the modifications would be and how it would be implemented. I was not at the technical, I guess there was a meeting with the police department and the DPW. I was not present at that.
Got it.
So the conversations with the applicant were, as they were preparing this plan and coming up with the modifications, to review that they were consistent with what typically you would do in this condition. And we were in agreement that They make sense, they follow current standards, but again, it has to be approved by the highway.
Right, so as far as the town, they've made no commitment or comments about whether they approve this or not.
Correct. At the technical review meeting that we had, the chief of police and the highway superintendent expressed some concerns and questions. The applicant provided response to those questions in its submission for this meeting. The materials for this meeting were sent to the chief of police and the highway superintendent, and we did receive comments back from both. We got an email from the police chief, which is included with the planning memorandum, and we've been through the highway superintendent's comments. They have concerns about how adding traffic volumes to this intersection will function, particularly when the conditions are not ideal.
So how does comments in a memo translate to approvals by the police and highway? Does it, or their comments are just noted?
No, I think at this point you should note their concerns. Typically, they wouldn't indicate an approval or a denial of those improvements until after your board and the building department, proceeds with its review. I feel like they probably think it's a little bit premature to be approving or indicating approval for highway modifications at this point.
But
they are concerned.
Right, but so if they were indeed to give a written approval, it would not occur until everything was sorted out. Right now, they just have concerns.
Correct. Typically, the way we include their jurisdiction, similar to the way we would a building permit application, we would, if an approval is granted, it would be subject to those changes being approved by the highway superintendent. And then if they were not approved, then the applicant couldn't proceed. They wouldn't satisfy that condition.
Okay, thank you. Hang on, doctor. So, listening to the applicant and listening to you, it appears that we all know this is just a very difficult intersection.
Yes.
It is now, and it always will be. And the modifications brought up by the applicant certainly seem reasonable and certainly will make a difficult situation maybe just a little bit less difficult, right? So I understand everything you said, I understand what's proposed, but I think we've frequently gone over this with you, that you're starting with a difficult situation, you do something to maybe offset a little or just feel more comfortable about the situation. And I think the traffic discussion is clearly that. If you assume that this application is not going to make the flow of traffic any worse at this intersection.
So in terms of what the applicant has proposed would be considered mitigation. It addresses current conditions, but it also is there to offset any increase that they have. And for example, if someone was making a left turn in there, if it wasn't modified to allow that bypass, then you could have a backup. So their plan is to mitigate the current condition along that stretch in terms of delineating the flow through the intersection so that people leaving from Downer or Scarsdale Avenue heading north are directed into their proper lane approaching the signal, and then keeping the width available for that, quote, bypass. That's their proposed mitigation to address that issue of potential, someone stopping, making the left turn into the driveway. In terms of their schedule is critical in terms of spreading out so that you wouldn't want all 15 people arriving at one time. That would be a problem. Over the course of the hour, as the traffic signal cycles through its operation, if you spread out the added loading, that mitigates any impact on that operation. If everyone arrived at one time, you would have an impact at the intersection. So the combination of their scheduling and the striping and signing modifications, again, subject to the town approvals of that, afterwards, they are mitigating or offsetting any increased turning volumes that they have.
Right, so anything that the applicant does that might possibly exacerbate the situation at the intersection or mitigate it by the proposals that they're putting in to add striping, add yield, that's your opinion, and it seems like that's certainly, it's reasonable, don't know if I agree with it, but that's
Typical.
technically, that's one offsets the other.
Yes.
Do you believe that, and I guess this is really not your purview, the operations will be such that they could be mitigated? I guess what I'm saying is the staggering going to be feasible? You can't answer that.
So it's up to their control of their operations. We've seen locations that are very well run, very organized. Parents, stick to it. There's always an occasion where you may get one more arrival or somebody's, stuck in traffic. But again, that if it's run properly, that would be an unusual situation typically. And people that are signing up for this are usually it's worked into a contract that they know that they can't show up at a certain time.
And I guess that's enforceable because it's in the contract, I guess.
Yeah, it's not enforceable by us, though, so we'd have to talk about how you might see that condition functioning.
But can I also point out what I think is obvious, that by staggering and by having effectively one car every 5 minutes, you also are now, and there could be 3 of them at any one time. But let's just say roughly a car every 5 minutes. That's a car every 5 minutes for an hour and a half in the morning, and an extra car every 5 minutes for an hour and a half. So you are increasing, albeit, slightly, but you are doing so over an extended period of time.
Correct.
That's the downside of staggering, right? Okay. And then getting back to, because this intersection, I've driven it too many times, and it is a tricky one, especially if you're coming from the Bronx River Parkway.
Yes.
And it goes to a right lane only. And then, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you have a lane drop for a left turn onto Scarsdale.
That's
Avenue,
right.
the north.
And then if you are coming from the Galloways, all right? You're coming from the east to west.
Yep.
You could be making a left turn there simultaneously, right?
Correct.
So that person would, right now, because there's parking that they're proposing to get rid of, the car making the right turn, the car that is going eastbound that's making the right turn onto Downer will pretty much automatically go to the left lane on Downer of the 2 lanes, if you will, because 1 lane is going to be parking.
Right.
While, again, if we're presuming that parking gets removed, there will be space, but I personally, I think you're going from 1 lane to 2 lanes, and you may have people coming from the westbound making a left turn. Probably most of the cars coming from the east-westbound are going towards the Bronx River Parkway.
Yes.
But that is a turn as well. So I just think it's a very confusing turn, and it's one that, and there's a hill there too.
Correct.
And there are turns, so there's a lot going on there, and to me, it's an inherently dangerous intersection to begin with. And while I appreciate the efforts to mitigate, it does strike me as a very complicated intersection, and one where I'm highly skeptical as to all of this working simultaneously.
There is a lot going on there. You have pedestrians, their signage, they're fixing the current signage that isn't standard. But they did look at accident history, and we reviewed that. It did not show any real patterns or any accident rates that are unusual. In terms of, there have been some critical accidents there, but in terms of the number of accidents, I think what their mitigation is defines the paths. And again, if it was higher traffic generation or wasn't spread out, that's why I think that's so critical to this operation. If it was a condensed period, we would have a different discussion.
That's right.
That's all of these mitigations are assuming perfect conditions, and that's the issue I have with it. It's if no parent is ever rushing in the morning, or no school bus is ever backed up, or there's never a slick road, or that's the only thing. So it's also a trickle effect where now there's no parking, so those people get bumped and have to park maybe in a more residential spot, or they're not allowed to park there and go on a bike trail. So I'm wondering, I guess for lack of better expression, if the juice is worth this squeeze. And it's not to have anything against a small business operating. They're fixed on this location, it seems like. And judging by the constituents and the amount of people that come out and the board having so many issues with it, the county having to be involved, it just raises so many concerns for one location. And other things, like even the private plowing and everything has to become an issue. So, I don't know, just playing devil's advocate and weighing every positive versus negative. You know, also having to, I guess, live up to what they're saying is, you know, we're guaranteeing X number of children. Like suppose that doesn't happen. Suppose there's a folding of the business. I'm just like, and then we make all these traffic pattern changes, and they are in business in 2 years. Is it all worth it? Would be my overall concern, I think.
Yeah, I
And
think
I don't mean to
the only
push
comment
small
I
business
have
away.
relative to that, the striping modifications and signing, putting the couple of parking spaces off, but the striping and signing would bring things into current standards. And even without this use, I think makes sense in terms of control, because you have an expanse of pavement as you head south away from Harney Road towards Downer and Scarsdale. It's very wide open. So this would define that better.
Right, what you're saying is, aside from the business, the proposed plan for striping enhances this location as it
Yes.
currently stands.
Based on current standards, yes.
Right.
Again, subject to the highway superintendent's approval,
Sure.
because he has to be the one to continue to maintain that in the future.
Right. Dr. Grilli, I'm gonna ask the same question I asked the applicant, as far as if turning in is one thing, but when coming out, do you think it would be a wise condition that they can only back out and then go down, I'm gonna say it incorrectly again, go down Downer?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to have a condition such as that.
Right.
I think most people would be returning to the direction they're coming from, but to keep traffic out of the neighborhood, that's something that could be done. And also, the movement actually becomes a little easier to back out and then head towards the signal, as opposed to backing across the other lanes and heading southbound.
That's going to be one that I think will be difficult for us to enforce.
Oh, yeah?
Because I think you'd have to have a code enforcement official there watching the movements.
But the same thing with slotted times, like who's enforcing, if you're 5 minutes later, you're gonna say you can't pull into the drive, but what are you gonna have them stay in the middle of the street? I mean, that's, can't enforce that either.
We heard from the applicant saying that they were going to build in monetary penalties and that they would be incentivized to enforce it, because if the neighbors are noticing that a whole group of cars are coming at once and they make a complaint to the town, which they will,
Exactly.
then, it will become an issue, and,
So it's
I agree, it's not the
Just to
easiest thing.
clarify your point, though, because Phil's bringing up what I was thinking, because all you need is one complaint, which, like Phil said, I'm sure there'll be one, and then wouldn't the town or the police or somebody come by to, I don't know, from my experience terms, they're gonna do a sweep, they're gonna come by a day or two later and see if it's happening. If not, shut them down.
Sure.
And that's how the penalty will come into effect with the business itself, because if they start hearing about shutdowns, then they're gonna enforce the people that are coming to the school to follow the regulations.
Right, so
That'd be the best way to follow it.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to think about and be mindful of is what will it take to enforce the conditions that we're imposing, and whether that's a reasonable burden to impose on our code enforcement staff.
Yeah, I think shut them down
Good point.
is definitely an incentive.
Correct. I mean, we have limited resources for code
Yeah.
enforcement,
Yeah.
so.
Meaning having like a traffic cop station there saying you could only back out or you can't make a left.
That's a staffing issue.
Yeah.
I-
And
yeah,
the police chief in his comments said he did not want to allocate additional staff
Yeah.
I was
for
saying, if you
these
read the
purposes.
memorandum,
You
they don't
already
want to
said that.
allocate any resources to that.
But
Which
it-
would
like
be my
anywhere else in the
response, yeah.
town, if there was one complaint or two, and then that's it. So if you have one complaint or two, like anywhere else in the town, if the business gets strike one, strike two, shut them down, and then that'll create an opportunity for them to really enforce with the people that are attending that school.
So would that actually even be possible? I like shutting them down, but what would be the legal path to say, if you guys don't abide by the schedule that you said you're going to do, we're going to turn your lights off?
Sure, so the remedy for a violation of a condition is an enforcement proceeding, sort of as we talked about in the last application. They'd get a notice of violation, an opportunity to correct the condition. If it wasn't corrected, they could be prosecuted for the violation. Maybe we could think about a condition that would nullify the permit after a certain number of violations. That's not something that's typical, but it's something that we could consider. But the typical enforcement process would be a notice of violation, an opportunity to cure, and then if no cure occurs, then
So,
prosecution.
Opportunity to,
Right.
to correct. Okay, because we have to keep going. Dr. Greeley, just two more questions, maybe three. What's post-opening survey? I know what it is. What are your options if it just isn't working? I mean, it's sort of, you can't do any more striping, what do? You tell them you got to change the stagger
purpose
pattern?
really is kind of belts and suspenders. What you're talking about is to observe and document. If people arriving, if you're getting 10 people arriving in a 15-minute period, then it's not being kept to their, what they agreed to. And typically, the post-opening monitoring is required from the applicant's cost, so that the town wouldn't incur the cost to do that.
Sure.
So I think if there are complaints, the town's going to know already. I'm just suggesting that if there weren't complaints, to just make sure that everything is functioning properly. For example, the issue about restricting people going south on Downer. That would be something that you would observe in the post-opening study. If people were found to be parking even though there was signing, then that's something that would have to be addressed, because that's critical to ensure that you have the bypass for someone stopping, turning in. So those are the things that would come out of a post-opening evaluation.
Sure. There's two more questions. The other one was the data they took from the other location that they have, that they use to assess the viability of the drop-off time and pickup times, was convincing. I read it, I'm like, I'm good, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Is it safe to say that you could take that same data and think it will apply to this location also?
In terms of their operational, being able to say we can commit to this 3 arrivals in a 15-minute period, yes, the answer is yes. But again, they have to adhere to that criteria, and they presented that as what was happening at their current facility, which is, I guess, an indication of how they currently operate. So it's just, a basis to be able to be used to say, we do it here, we plan to do it at this location, so it should function properly.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm just saying in general, what works in one situation doesn't necessarily make it work in another
Correct, yeah,
situation.
because every site is slightly
Yeah,
different
there's
in terms
other-
of background, traffic, and
Sure.
other conditions. But in terms of the pattern that they have created to allow for the pickup and drop-offs at an existing facility, it's, demonstrating how that functions.
So my last question is more of a comment, and I'm hoping you'll agree with me. AKRF, great job. Great presentation. I understand what you did. I could appreciate it, make things better. We're all engineers here. We love solving problems, and we're very good at it. And I know that when my engineers come to me with something that just doesn't feel right, we use our judgment. And I say, no matter what you're telling me, I'm not going to do that because it's just not going to work. At what point do we use our judgment and not just data that's given to us that looks like it makes things work?
Well, you also do it based on experience. And unfortunately, I've been around in this business for a while. I've seen a lot of things that don't work and aren't done properly. What they're proposing meets the current standards that have been published, okay? So there is some judgment here. Everybody drives, so you kind of know the situation, the people in the neighborhood know what happens there. Here, they did provide a video observation of what was occurring, so that's a good indicator of what you see is what you get. In terms of your decision, you look at experience, and that's where your judgment comes in.
And it sounds like what you're saying is, based on your judgment, all things being equal, everything they presented, this could actually work if the drop-offs work.
If the schedule is adhered to and the improvements, the mitigation, yes.
Okay, fine, that's right. Thank you, that's all my questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one comment, and that is, with respect to pretty much every applicant who comes before this board, but particularly one that's already run a business of its nature, I'm assuming that they would have no interest, A, in opening a business in Eastchester, and B, hiring a staff of representatives and paying the cost of that if they believe that this was not going to succeed. So I with all due respect, I don't think this is, I would expect that the applicant has seen that there's a need for this service, or they wouldn't be moving forward. So just wanted to comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. Okay, it's open to the public. And as we've said before, you're certainly welcome to comment, but please, if the comments are already been made, please don't just repeat the same comments.
Yeah, and we did receive and review a host of emails containing letters, some of which were duplicative, but we do realize that a number of you weighed in on this application, and we've considered those comments.
Good point, thank you. You're up.
Yes, Bruce DeSanchuk, 2 Bronson. First of all, I'd like to thank the board, the town's attorney, and everybody else involved with the town in trying to solve a difficult problem. And I'd like to talk about fences. No?
Or arborvitaes.
Well, you told me not to talk about the other stuff, and I'm sure I've got backup back
Got to talk about neighbors then.
First of all, I believe the town has I hate to say regulation, where it says that no chain link fence shall be placed in the front yard. I'm kind of surprised that the applicant didn't read that. Since you're all engineers, I would like you to...
I'm not.
Innocent. I'd like you to look at the regulations in the town regarding fencing in corner lots. There is something that says that you can build a fence only, your engineers, you'd look at it, and please come back at the next meeting. You can only build a fence coming in 40 feet this way, 40 feet that way, and you cannot build a fence beyond that particular point. That's about it.
Great,
See, no parking, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It does bring up a good point. I think we just concentrated so much on the traffic stuff. I know there were previous meetings about fencing and stuff, but I almost personally forget. But there's also a reason for variances, but yeah, right?
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight?
So far, so good.
Yep.
Great. I'm speaking on behalf of my parents, Luigi and Grazia Pellicciari, at 5 Downer. One question I do have.
You have to also identify yourself.
My name's Isabella Pellicciari.
Very good.
I do have a question that I'd like answered after I finish speaking from the highway supervisor or specialist. How does this affect 5 and 7 Downer, parking-wise, driving out of their lots wise, you know, these 5-minute intervals in front of the house. All right? Chairperson, member of the board, I'm not standing in front of you tonight as a paid expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm talking to you as a neighbor and as a daughter. I'm someone whose family lives with the daily reality of Harney Road and Downer Avenue, and I'm here because there comes a point where you have to stop looking at the blueprints and start looking at the people. I support childcare. No one's questioning how important it is for families to have access to it, but supporting childcare does not mean approving a project that puts people at risk, ignores basic requirements, and shifts the burden on an entire neighborhood. This application simply does not fit. I'd like to address the comparisons that we keep making in Exhibit A, New Rochelle. The comparisons between Exhibit A, 188 Clove Road in New Rochelle, and 32 Harney Road in Eastchester. The applicant suggests these sites are comparable, but they're not. This is apples to oranges. 188 Clove Road is a mid-block residential lot with straightforward, two-way traffic flow, in contrast to 32 Harney Road that sits on a corner at a complex three-way intersection. The site plan A013 shows a new lane line extension and proposed street markings directly in front of the property. Vehicles entering and exiting must navigate traffic from 3 different directions, increasing cognitive load and risk. The fact that the roadway modifications are needed just to make the site viable confirms the intersection's complexity, something that the New Rochelle comparison completely ignores. The New Rochelle site has consistent sidewalks and low pedestrian activity. Harney Road does not. It has high volume pedestrian corridor with commuters and families. 188 Clove Road sits on a 0.3 acre lot, providing meaningful separation from the street. 32 Harney Road is only 0.19 acres. The plan shows a just restripping and a 4-foot chain link fence placed very close to the roadway. The New Rochelle site has long operated as a daycare in the setting designed for it. 32 Harney Road is a single-family home that previously had a small doctor's office. This use generated far less traffic and activity. To suggest the same operational model applies here ignores the reality of this location. The independent Collier's review reinforces these concerns. It calls for additional striping, signage, and lane width clarification. It requires multiple approvals from DPW, police, and the county, as well as the town. It suggests conditions on scheduling that may not be enforceable. It raises unresolved questions about parking, contradictions in how spaces are being used, and recommends post-opening traffic monitoring, essentially acknowledging uncertainty about whether the site will function safely at all. Sorry, I'm Italian, I talk a lot. At least I got a little chuckle. Even more concerning, required vehicle turning simulations requested by this board were not provided. And there is still no clear demonstration that traffic can safely move through this site during peak times. And then there's the enforcement. The entire plan depends on tightly controlled scheduling of drop-off and pickups. But the police chief has already stated that there's little guarantee that drivers will follow those rules and that the town does not have the resources to enforce them. A plan that cannot be enforced is not a plan, it's a hope. We also have to look at the real-life world conditions, especially on Downer Avenue. There are no sidewalks, none. The roadway is the only path for pedestrians. My parents live at 5 Downer. My father is 80, well, he's 79, he'll be 80 tomorrow.
Is he here?
My mother is 70. To move through their neighborhood, they must walk in the street. This is their daily reality. Now you want to add more than 15 to 30 vehicle turnings over a short period of time, creating congestion, limited visibility, and constant interaction between cars and pedestrians. We won't even get into the thought of my parents pulling out of their driveway right now. It's not theoretical, this is their life. The highway superintendent has already raised concerns about this intersection, especially in poor weather due to traffic volume, speed, and operational complexity. Add in the school buses, the B-line buses, and the sanitation pickups, which do happen in the morning, not in the afternoon. And the situation becomes even more constrained. And then we have the police chief's statement. He has made it clear there is inadequate parking, unavoidable traffic conflicts, and ongoing safety concerns at this intersection. He described the front play yard area as a common sense safety issue and stated plainly that a chain link fence will not stop a vehicle. He went further. He said he would not allow children to play in that space. That's not an opinion to dismiss. It's a warning. At the end of the day, public streets and public resources should not be used to compensate for undersized private sites. If a project cannot meet the basic requirements, lot size, parking, safety circulation, then it doesn't belong here. The board's responsibility is to weigh impact, not just intention, not just what's shown on paper, but what will actually happen on the ground. And based on the facts, a 57% lot deficiency, a significant parking shortfall, unresolved traffic and safety questions, non-enforceable operating conditions, documented concerns not only from the chief of the police, but also highway, and a street with no sidewalks already functioning to its limit. This application does not meet the standards required for approval. If it cannot operate safely within the limits of its own property, then it does not belong in that property. I respectfully urge you to deny this application and to prioritize the safety and livability of the community you're here to represent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing this time for public comment. My name's Rich Handel. I've been a 30-year resident of Eastchester and 10 years in Green Knolls. Before I get into what I wanted to talk about, I have a question about the parking drawing.
Why don't you just bring the microphone with you? Yep.
All right, the ADA spot, which is right here, right here, number 5. If this is actually the lane to allow access for the ADA spot, this person would have to back in if they're the driver, which would be kind of difficult to do. So they can use this lane. Let's say if they, have to use a wheelchair or whatever, it's a handy van. They're gonna have to back into this spot. So I guess if they're coming in this way, they're coming up and they're backing in. I think that would create its own problem by having that extra lane on that side. Something to think about. And so I want to draw your attention to some safety concerns and practical issues. The code requires a minimum of 750 square feet of fenced outdoor play area. It's area, I believe that infers one area of 750 square feet, and also 50 per child, which, 15 kids, you get the 50 square feet. If the applicant, even if you say you're going to split that into the 2 areas, you have one that's 565, one that's 315, so you entertain that idea. That means you're limited to about 15 children. In the front yard, it will only be 5, and in the side yard, it would be 10 because of that 50 feet. That means you have the 2 separate areas. So because of the supervision requirements, one area has to have 2 staffers, the one with 10, and the other area has to have 1 staff. So that's 3 staffers. If there's a kid that doesn't want to go out and play, If there's a drop-off or a pickup, which is supposed to be supervised, which they're going to assist with, they need a fourth employee, because 3 people would be in the play area. So that doesn't really work. It should be one area. It's inferred by the code, the special use. It's a real constraint. Now, compounding that, it also says it can't abut a public street. It abuts Harney Road. And to directly quote the chief, it's, I would never allow a large amount of children to play in that front yard. The chain link fence, the propensity for accidents, the risk of someone driving right through that. It's just too dangerous. Taking together these factors, it highlights not only the technical non-compliance, but also makes it clear that this location is unsuitable for a daycare facility to operate. It doesn't meet the requirements for a special use permit. It's plain and simple. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening, Chairman Bonanno and distinguished board. Kevin Deneen from Bronson Avenue in Green Knolls. I know the traffic issues have been addressed, at length. What I'd like to speak to is, tonight, we probably could have had another 20 to 30 neighborhood residents here, but the majority of them home, putting their kids to bed, getting them ready for school tomorrow. So some of us senior members are here to represent. And, what I'd like to speak to is, I mentioned in my last time at the podium, what we contribute to Eastchester as a community. Hundreds of millions of dollars in tax base, a hardworking community of people that look out for each other and work hard to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood. For me, with the Green Day, if I go back a step, whoever purchased the property did so obviously with the intention of an investment and as a rental property. They purchased the property to make money. Nothing wrong with that. Green Day came in with the same goal, to open up a business and to make money. Again, nothing wrong with that, but it's the wrong fit at the wrong place. We drive into our neighborhood every day. We know how busy that intersection is. And to Dr. Greeley's point too, if Green Day follows those stipulations of 1 car every 5 minutes, I concur with Chief Rodriguez. I spent 26 years in law enforcement, and I know what it's like to enforce traffic and vehicle violations, I believe if this was approved, that they would play by the rules for the first few months. But it's only human nature. You're going to come spinning into that neighborhood, and on the diagram there, people would be probably whipping a U-turn to park in front of the house. Another issue is when you're trying to egress and get out of our neighborhood. May I? Is that
Yes.
still up?
Just bring the microphone. By the way, it's a great day. I know you're probably a big fan of Green Day, but...
Can you hear me? This point here, only 1 car fits here as you're trying to get to the light. If you had more than 1 vehicle dropping off the children here, more than likely you would have spillover to this area here. And for me, individuals would be beeping their horn to get by, to try to make the light, to try to get onto the Bronx River Parkway and get to work, and it would be a quality of life issue. If this was approved, I could see neighbors calling up the town, complaining, and it would be an issue. It would be an issue for the police department. So, in closing, for me, it's a quality of life issue also, I feel for the neighbors next to 32 Harney, because again, if it was approved, what's going to happen to their home values, Who's going to want to move into a home where there's kids there? We all love kids, There's no doubt about that, you know? But, you know, you're gonna have children out in the yard. This business is gonna be open for 12 hours a day, basically. 11 and a half hours a day, Monday to Friday. If I'm not mistaken, is it 12 months a year, you know? So, you know, I would just ask on behalf of a lot of the people that I'm on the board with, Rich Handel here and others that are here tonight, for the neighborhood, and on behalf of those who can't be here tonight, I please urge you to reject this application. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Andrew Levin, 22 Tudor Lane. I do live in Green Knolls. I'll be referring to the documents that I downloaded, the Cuddy Fetter letter and the Exhibit A, which is 2 parts, text and charts. So page 4, the 4th bullet point, where they go over the bus schedules, the B-line bus, the sanitation, and they're trying to thread a needle there with the drop-offs. It's not going to happen. Anyone with young kids, no one ever runs late. It's just not happening. The last sentence, sanitation pickups typically occur in the afternoon. Today, glass was 7:30, garbage was 8:15, paper was 10:30. I don't know if that's typical or not, but they put in afternoon.
What are the dates of, I'm sorry, what days of the week is there sanitation pickup? And what days do they do recycling? What days do they do, and times? To the best of your knowledge, I'm asking Mr. Levin this question.
Monday and Thursday is garbage, assuming there's no holidays.
Yes,
Then
correct.
everything gets shipped.
Yes.
So Monday, Thursdays.
Or a snow event.
Or snow, whatever disrupts
Yes,
things, correct.
okay.
So Monday and Thursday is garbage. Thursday, in addition to garbage, is recyclable day, which is glass and paper. And one of the things they didn't reference in this in their document, Wednesday, which just started, probably because they did the survey in December, is green waste, which usually is in the morning.
The highway
There's
superintendent.
well, that's true. If you're putting out large appliances and other things are Wednesday.
Yeah, the highway superintendent did confirm that the pickup is typically in the morning. There are days when schedules don't always go according to plan.
Correct.
Sometimes it occurs in the afternoon, but it is scheduled for the morning.
And that's to my point, they're threading a needle with when these drop-off times, when things are very variable. You were discussing amongst yourselves about, oh, we can just enforce this. Not possible. You would have to have the contracts. Okay, Philip, you have the 7:30 to 7:45 spot.
Got it.
Lauren, you have the 7:45 to 8. James, you have the 8:15. And you, Philip, you have to be out by 7:45, otherwise you're encroaching on Lauren's time. No one's enforcing this, and I'm sure if you ask them, they're not kicking people out for violations of a contract. People run late. It's just, it's not enforceable, and it's just not practical. Then I'm going to Exhibit A, their data collection, which the previous speaker did reference some things here. This site operates with a similar enrollment capacity, driveway configuration, operational characteristics. The enrollment, looking at their data, the average number of cars is 10. They're saying 15 people for this site. So that's 50% more. So the enrollment capacity, maybe it's capacity is the word, but they only have 10 people there. They're budgeting for 15 here. The driveway configuration is the most disingenuous part of all this. The previous speaker, the woman, referenced this. I don't know if you've been to Clove Road. Clove Road is one way for most of the way. When you get to where this facility is, it's a two-way street for just one block. Almost no parking, mostly driveways, fire hydrants. The few spots to park on the street are occupied, at least when I was there. The driveway configuration, not even close. So if you're looking at the house, having spoken to a resident from way back when who remembers how it was, used to be a single lot, and it was subdivided. So when you're looking at the house, the lot, 200 Clove is to the right, 188 where this facility is to the left.
It had, by the way, there's no signage that shows there's a daycare there. But the driveway is contiguous. Why is that important? If I'm driving in there and I go to drop off my kid, I don't have to back out. It's a very wide area. I could pop a U-turn because backing out is inherently dangerous. And that's a low flow. Like when I was there, there's almost no cars on that road. So the driveway configurations are night and day. You could pop a very wide, you could pop a U-turn to get out of there. On Downer, you have to back out. Downer is a relatively steep hill. People can do the speed limit, doing 30 miles an hour. Someone's trying to back out, it's problematic. Rush hour is the worst part, the afternoon rush hour. That intersection's a nightmare. People block the box. I've been at that Downer light there, having to wait for 2 lights before I can make a left to get to the Bronx River because it's so backed up. So it's a very congested area. So, and backing out is inherently dangerous anyway. Staying with the Exhibit A, they have a chart on the second page where they go over, and I guess because you're engineers, you're fluent in all this, difference between average, medium, and mode. Or should I clarify? Well, I just have issues with all this, but so maybe for the audience, average, you have 20 things, you divide it by 20, you get your average. But it may not give you an accurate depiction of what's going on there. The second line is standard deviation. For the folks out here, it's variance. It's the width of how wide the disparity of how much the dwell time is there. To try my best to put this in English, the average is 4 minutes. The standard deviation is 3 minutes. That's a huge standard deviation for an average of 4. That means there's a wide dispersion all over. That, if you look at the data they provided, and sorry to get so nerdy on everyone, the pickups are the biggest dispersion because the drop-offs, you've got to make the 7:30 train. You're not going to dwell there. You got to get your kid out of the car and get out of there. When you pick up, you have time to chit-chat. These surveys were done in December, very cold December. I don't know if dwell times are longer when it's a day like today. I don't know what, they don't even define what a dwell time is. There's a lot of things that are not defined in this. They talk about timestamps in the body of this letter, meaning they timestamp, they monitor your car, James, they monitor your car coming in. They say they have a timestamp of when you arrived and when you left. But then they talk about dwell time. I don't know what dwell time is. Is that the amount of time you're just chit-chatting with your kid in the driveway? I don't even know what this means. It's not well defined. They have something, and sorry to go through all this mode bin.30, mode bin.30. Do an internet search, nothing comes up. I don't even know what this means. So they have terminology. I don't know why you would put a document together that has terminology that is meaningless. I could go deeper into the mode and all these other things, but I think I'll lose people here. But again, when you have, if you go back to Stats 101 in high school, you have your bell curve. So if you have your average for 4 minutes and your standard deviation is 3 minutes, one standard deviation out covers 68% of the possibilities. So that means it's going to be between 1 and 7 minutes, right? That's how it works. You want to cover 95% of the possibilities, you go 2 standard deviations out. So now you're at 10 minutes, but you can't subtract 3 minutes from 1 minute. You get a negative number, so it's not a smooth curve. The point I'm trying to make, and I know I'm losing people here, is there's a long tail on the right, as their data shows. It's all over the place. It's a large, people are dwelling long times. They're not staying there within their 15-minute period. One person was there for 13 minutes. I'm probably not saying this as accurately as I want to, but the data that they're providing shows that it's all over the place. When you look at their charts here with the pickup, there are times where it's all bunched together. There are 5 people together. You can look at the charts they supplied. People are not necessarily, it just doesn't work when if you miss the 5 o'clock train out of Grand Central, you're getting the next one. You could come at a later time. So the enforcement is really not practical unless you're checking license plates and contracts and who's who. It's incredibly dangerous to back out of Harney Road. It is not similar to Clove Road where you can pop a U-turn on a lightly traveled street. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Just say no. Why?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you an engineer, by the way?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just checking.
Finance guy.
He is, Bob is.
Robert Pulaski, 97 Maple, former member of Green Knolls, Greenville. When you look at the double yellow line that starts to go up Downer, it appears that it's in the middle of the roadway. But that's not the correct appearance because there is parking on one side. And so that would push that double yellow line to the south. The critical point is that right now, if you come down Downer, you don't have any double yellow lines. Add a double yellow line there with parking, and you have people coming down Downer, and all of a sudden, the double yellow line is in front of them. And they have to shift around that because there are some parked cars and they have to shift around it. Maybe this is not a big deal, but I would suggest that a traffic engineer take that into consideration and make sure that there is no hazard. But adding to this about where that double yellow line is what a prior speaker said about the fact that there are no sidewalks. And this is always a better problem in Eastchester. And if you have youngsters and with their parents and they're walking them to the place where the school bus is going to stop and pick them up, they're taking up space in that roadway. So now you have parked cars, you have 2 lanes, one up, one down, plus you have to have space for people to walk. As far as the substantial impact of this facility going in and the backing in, the pulling in and the pulling out, if you think of all of the housing going up and down the street, it's all one family. So how many cars in that family will back out and pull in on a given day? Let's say it's 3. That's far surpassed by how many will pull out and pull in at the daycare center. So it's night and day. There is no comparison there. I think that, and so I was just there today walking that area, and I noticed one car stopped at the light. And I saw very clearly that if there was a second car behind it, it probably would start to block one of the 3 spaces that are on the drawings for pull in and pull out. So if one of the 3 spaces goes away, now you're down to 2 spaces on the application. I think this should be clarified. If you had a 3rd car in a queuing, it worsens the situation. I think that another factor with pulling in and pulling out is that Downer is on a fairly steep slope. And so if you aren't accustomed to pulling out against the steep slope, it takes a little bit of practice that you swing the car right and pull up a slope in order to come back out. The last speaker, talking about the facility in New Rochelle, mentioned, I believe, that the car is able to do a K-turn within the facility. So you pull straight in, do a K-turn, and pull straight out. Very different from backing out. I also think it's very disingenuous of the applicant to come out with a study of how, a time study, duration time study at 188 Clove Road, and not provide a diagram of the place. So you all can see, visually see, what the difference is. Now, I know some of you have been out to 188, and I know some of the speakers have adequately described 188 Clove Road. But the applicant provided a study, and they're applying that study to the application, but they aren't providing substantiating information of how that study may or may not relate to the one in Eastchester. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Josephine Bochelink, and I reside at 40 Downer Avenue. I'd like to look at this diagram again because I think that a lot of what was said was wishful thinking, but I think I can show you that none of the mitigants will actually improve the situation. Adding the yield signs and extending the lines is not going to increase the space that you have or change the fact that this is the bottom of a funnel. Essentially, all these roads are funneling in to one little narrow spot right where the parking is. Just a reminder, we've talked about it in the past, but it's been many months. This has in fact been going on for a year. The first time we met was almost a year to the day. And I think we've had at least 4 iterations of this.
I think it was that guy's birthday, right?
Yes, and the birthday's tomorrow, so I think tomorrow's the year. But it's not increasing the space. It's not really changing anything. It's adding a lot of signs and lines, but the space is the space. And I do want to remind everybody that this is one of 2 intersections for almost the entire neighborhood, over 180 homes to get in and out. We said that other times, it was a long time ago. I put a picture of that up. I do have the picture, but I'm sure you remember now that I've mentioned it. So it's really a key intersection. So if we just come to this picture of the road. Hopefully there it is. Okay, so right now, so this is a space for one car, this is a space for one car, this is a space for one car. And we have a little bit of this double solid line with those little spiky things there. So what we're doing is adding some yield signs. That's not doing much. We're extending this line, and somehow we're putting this here. This can't work because this is parking. This is parking, and it really has to stay parking. It would be quite unfair to take away the parking in front of this house when every other house on the street has it. So this line cannot, so suggesting this, especially if I'm a traffic expert and a traffic expert is suggesting this, I really think that I would question everything that traffic expert has said, but leave that aside. This line cannot be here. Everybody driving this way is going to be here because there's parked cars, and we frequently have to tuck into a parking space to let people come by. So this is a fallacy. Ignore it. here now, these kind of dotted lines, it's very confusing. I don't suggest putting in anything confusing like that. Now here, they've basically said you come in and a car can wait here for these spots and you can go around. But do you realize what they're saying? First, they're saying it's safe to pass on the right. Anybody learning to drive knows it's not safe to pass on the right. But anyway, let's say for a minute we're gonna try to do that. You have a car here waiting, and let's assume it's one, but it won't be one. There'll be multiples. But let's say there's one car. You're saying that you can swerve into and pretend that you were going to Scarsdale Avenue and then swing around back to Downer. Is that safe? That's not safe. It makes no sense. Now, I would want to say another thing. One of my, I think it was Andrew who said, how many times he's waited here, a couple of times, because when you try to turn onto Downer, try to turn onto Harney to go to the Bronx River, you never want to go to this lane. You always want to go to this lane because you need to go that way to take the Bronx River north. So because of this is usually backed up, this may have a space. People wait here for an extended period of time until they can get to this right lane. So it's going to back up. It backs up now. And so also to say, when Dr. Greeley was saying with some of these mitigants, it's not going to enhance the situation. When you're adding essentially, 15 in and 15 out in the morning, 15 in and 15 out, how can 60 trips not add and exacerbate the problem? This is common sense. We don't need a traffic expert to say anything about it. 60 more trips, it adds significantly. This is common sense. So.
Are you saying 60?
60, because 15 times people are going in, 15 times people are going out. That's the morning. And that's 30. And then you have 30 in the evening. So it's a lot of increase. And then here, you have all these dots and you're getting very confused. So you're saying you can go around these dotted lines. It makes no sense. There's no parking here. This area, I don't personally experience that a lot of times the cars are parked there. And it's already tight enough because the reason this is a little wider is not because it's another lane. It's because it goes into this street, so it allows the even flow. To say that these are 3 lanes here, this is disingenuous. So I do want to say that. Then I want to talk about snow quickly. We had a lot of snow this year. And I can tell you, I experienced that problem about the highway owns some of these roads, the town owns some of these roads, because during the snowstorm, a little further down on Harney, they didn't plow it. They put the snow there. So you were in a really bad spot where you had to go here, and then this is a turn only, so then you had to go there, and they can't even get all the snow off this part because it's too small for the plow. So usually there's a lot of snow in here, and that's what we experienced this year. And I called the highway department, I called the town, and to get them to clean it up, and it took a couple of more days. So it's really, none of these things help the inherent problem that is caused by the space. And as I said, this is a key spot. It's the access to the Bronx River, it's the access to the Metro North, and it is the way that over 180 houses go in and out, other than the really steep way by Maple. So that's that part. Now, we've been talking mostly about that, but let's not forget all the other problems with this whole idea. Actually, before we leave it, people mentioned, well, the highway superintendent and the police chief. But what was said was very grave concerns, because the highway superintendent said he's very concerned about the ability of this to function appropriately without negatively impacting the intersection. This is the highway superintendent. For the planning board to choose otherwise when the highway superintendent is saying this would be quite incomprehensible, really. And he said, these factors are likely to impact the access to, the functioning of, and the efficiency of the drop-off pickup area. And he further explained about sanitation and blah, blah, blah. But the police chief, I won't read the parts that that my neighbors have read, but the police chief said that he still believes that there's inadequate parking, and with the times involved, it will conflict with school buses, beeline buses, and sanitation pickup. Let's remember, and I've mentioned it before, the bus stop on the website is right there. We have Beeline bus. We have many school buses going through. And then the Eastchester police chief said there's little guarantee that any of their suggestions for drop-off or pickup will be adhered to by the guardians. Now, let's be real. If a parent is late or early, are they going to turn that parent away? It would be highly unusual and maybe even cruel to turn the parent away, because the parent has to go to work. So I just don't think it's feasible, and they'll have even a little tug at their heartstrings to just overlook it, just out of kindness to the parents, if not out of self-interest to keep the business going and continue to be paid. So I think that's, that's not very reasonable. It's not enforceable. And as Andrew was saying, the data they gave us doesn't even support that there's only 3 in a 15-minute period. But let's just continue. The police chief also said it's still very busy and there are accidents there, and from a common sense safety standpoint, I would never allow a large group of children to play on the front of that property. Okay, so these are really important people that have to live with this if you decide to approve it. And they're telling you they're worried about it. And an overwhelming number of residents have been telling you, we're worried about it. So I don't think that these are small things that you can overlook. But let's focus a little bit on the 3 kids in a 15-minute period. You've got 3 employees. We were told that only 1 additional employee other than the resident is going to come at 7. So at 7 a.m. till 8 a.m., there's only 2 people. But 3 kids can come every 15 minutes. That means 12 kids in that hour. And one of them is supervising outside. That won't happen, because you can't have one person with 10, 11, then eventually 12 kids watching them all when they're that young. So the numbers don't work for the employees. The 3rd employee is not coming till 8 a.m. That doesn't work. It's irresponsible. So that I do want to say. Dr. Greeley said the adherence to the schedule is critical. You can't enforce this. So I just don't see what we're doing, trying for over a year now to try to figure out how we can make this work when it just can't work. It can't be enforced. And let's look at the drop-off study very briefly, because Andrew covered it in detail very well. But this study doesn't even say who conducted it. It wasn't an independent study, and it's completely inapplicable. As the property is completely different. So to say, Dr. Greeley or whoever, is this going to be representative of the times here? Common sense says it can't be, because we have space limitations here. I'm sorry, my mouth is very dry. But we have space limitations here. It's going to take longer to go in and out if you have to wait, and you're at a funnel, and there's people trying to get to the Bronx River in the cars. So it's just not the same space. It's not comparable, and the study's flawed because it's not even independent. But even if it was, it's irrelevant to this space. And I think one of the things you said, Mr. Bonanno, is that at a certain point, we're trying to do all these things and say this might help a little and this might help a little, but at what point do we say, we have looked at everything many, many times now, and we have to use our judgment that this does not work. So this is just a very, very, very different space, and it just can't work. Let me just see quickly. I think I covered the bulk of it, but just super quickly. Oh yes, this to me is very important. In December and in October, you very clearly told the applicant they had to produce simulations. And when the planning board asks for something, if I was in front of the planning board and you asked me for simulations, you would have had them the next time I was there. But you didn't, and you had to ask a second time. And now we're here the third time, and you don't have simulations. So I want to tell you that the only thing I can imagine is that they prepared them, and it didn't help their case. I'm guessing, because that's the only logical reason that they would completely defy what they were told to produce and asked to produce. So to me, that's a red flag. Why aren't they doing what you're asking? You really have to think why that is. And I think I'm telling you what I suspect it is. You can think about what you suspect that it is, but it's a really big point in my book. I think that pretty much covers it. But if you were to go back to the criteria, we've covered this a lot of times. This facility does not meet the criteria, almost none of them, because the location, the nature, and the intensity of the operations are not in harmony with the area. We've said that a lot of times for many, many reasons. It doesn't meet the criteria. The location, nature, and height of the buildings, walls, and fences are such that it will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. We've heard that these fences, I mean, it's unheard of to have a fence going across the whole front of the property. And that's what they're proposing. The operations are not objectionable by reason of noise and other characteristics. That's not the case here. This is very objectionable and objectionable with the traffic. The square footage for the play area is ridiculous. They don't meet it because they're counting a little strip of land right in front of the house, which is not a playground. It's a spot for bushes, and it's very narrow, and it's just, and we've heard that they can't even fit any equipment or swings for the kids to play on. So how is that meeting the criteria for a playground. It does not meet it. And if you go through, you see a lot of criteria are not met. It doesn't have a kitchen, it only has heating facilities. I mean, there are very specific criteria. So I don't know why we keep coming here. There was almost nothing changed from tonight's application, except for a few little changes on this map that don't work. And we keep putting the same application forward again and again and again, and I really hope we don't have to come back. I really hope that you deny it tonight. I think it's due. I think it's really time. Thank you very much.
I'm going to say something.
All right, well,
Yeah.
I think...
I just want to, for 1 second, it's 10:15 right now. I think we've been going almost 2 hours on this. I am a lawyer. I've argued like company betting appeals where we get 15 minutes and maybe 5 minutes of rebuttal. So we also have 2 other applications that are coming behind this. So please, we have heard, I made it a point to say we've read the submissions that you guys have made. I think there is a bit of repetitiveness to what we're hearing here. Please, to the point.
And may I just add one more remark? I definitely think it's wonderful, and we're here for everyone to voice their opinions, and I implore you to continue doing so again, like Mr. Nemesek said, in perhaps a more succinct manner if something's been brought up. Excuse me, but I do implore everyone to also just to be in good taste with respect to the comments that we're making. I don't think it's respectful to be dismissing the professionalism of people that have worked on the application. So let's just make sure that we're making our comments respectful. You know, we respect everyone's opinion, and I don't think there needs to be any kind of, I'll say, snarkiness to add to the comment. The message is conveyed, so just moving forward.
No, I appreciate that. Dave Fisher, 37 Bronson. And if anyone's getting fruit thrown at them tonight, it's probably me. I will say I have 5 kids. We live a good Frisbee throw from the property. I walk, car, and bus through that intersection every day. And I think one of the reasons why we're here a year later is because we are so hesitant to, in a state that is short on daycare, and in a place where we want people to be able to use property for business, and a place where we want parents to be able to choose and have the freedom to make decisions for their own children, those are compelling. And we better have, and I thank the people in my neighborhood for making such compelling arguments for many of the reasons why this isn't safe. I want to provide a couple thoughts maybe on the other side, and a couple thoughts in their support. First off, I loved the stats comments earlier. I'm a stats guy. One comment I'll make is I would really like to see the drop-off and pickup times broken up. I would suspect this is what we'd call in stats a bimodal distribution. If you're dropping off, it's going to be quick. If I am taking a kid to a daycare, that's 60 seconds in, out, we're done. If I'm picking a kid up, we're past that 3 minutes just to find the missing sock. Like, it's not happening. And
you want to get feedback on what your kid did that day.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's never, yeah, especially since they have an idea when the parent is showing up, but the kid isn't getting fully ready until that parent is there. Flip side, the plan with 3 parking spots for 3 3-minute slots over 15 minutes, that's 20% utilization. So a lot can go wrong in that 15-minute window, and cars aren't bumping into each other. So I applaud the attempt here. Maybe it's good enough, maybe it's not for you guys. I will say with this intersection, it is in many ways, because I live here, maybe my most hated intersection in the town. But our little piece in our neighborhood is the least problematic by far of that. And if you're going to have a safety hill to die on for driving in New York, like, this is the safe, like, it's very navigable. And the point is well taken with if you're turning left out of the neighborhood to turn a right onto Bronx River, that can be a little challenging. Apart from that, I am never stuck at that light through a full cycle, even in rush hour. Yeah, there's cars and you have to navigate them, but you can pull through, you can pull to the right. It just doesn't back up there heavily very, very often. I don't know if unless I'm turning left, ever been stuck there for a full cycle of the light. Only 3 years, not 60 plus, some people. And so I do want, and one other thing I'll say, the parking, just briefly. The parking that is right here, that's 80% of the time. When I see someone there, 80% of the time it's a police SUV. And so people are watching that regularly. If you are flying down this road with cars parked on the side, with pedestrians walking up, and you're crazy because there's risks here and there's a cop here a good portion of the time. And so I know that there are bad actors, but the vast majority of us go down that hill very carefully, whether it's because of the cop or whether it's because we are dodging in and out of the cars parked on the side, and we know that there are pedestrians coming up. And so I thank you for taking the time on this. This is a very well-organized neighborhood, and I encourage you to think through everything. And thanks for being here at 1025.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat Mastalone. I live at Rutgers Place. I've been here since 1973. So I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot. And I think that the one thing that people aren't aware of, that we've had an accident on that corner, that somebody got hit and was hospitalized as she was crossing the street with a child, that we had one of our neighbors petition to get a crosswalk put up there, crosswalk light. So that's first and foremost. I think the traffic pattern does not allow for people to maneuver safely through there. There is a lot of traffic. But the other point I want to make, I was a substitute teacher in a school that had handicapped children. If you're talking about any handicapped child coming in and out of that car, first of all, it would have to back into that spot to access that thing. And the other thing, too, is we had, for every 4 children, there was a teacher. So 4 children for 15 children, I think they're a little short, especially if you have any handicapped children. And the visibility of children on that corner with who knows who is going by where, that's another safety issue that I really don't want to even think about. So I appreciate your time and effort, and I hope you appreciate that I ended it shortly.
Thank you. Do appreciate it.
Hi, Iris Bader, 21 Downer Avenue. Yeah, on Downer. I think I'm the only person maybe from Downer who's addressed this board. I haven't come to the previous meetings, in part because I was really thinking about the applicant and having been a working mother, how critical childcare is, and it was really like I didn't want to have a knee-jerk reaction against it. But as all of my neighbors here have talked about, it is so dangerous, the spot. I mean, I feel for working parents. They need to have childcare, but this is like a star, this intersection. There's like, you've got the Bronx River coming up, you've got Scarsdale Avenue from Scarsdale Village coming in, you've got Brook Street turning in, you've got 2 streets within the neighborhood fuddling in. So it's like a star. And now the proposal is that in the middle of this star, where there's like a big area that's just this morass to begin with, that if you want to go down to the path, if you want to get to Scarsdale Village, you have to navigate that just to begin with. And now we're talking about adding in cars. swooping in, swooping out, doing 3-point, 4-point, 5-point turns, whatever they have to do, and trying to work around the police, the town vehicles. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And if we look at this right here,
Microphone?
this is something from a pedestrian standpoint, which really has not been talked about enough. But this makes it look like there's a nice, cozy, large sidewalk to get to, where you can easily cross to go to Scarsdale Avenue and walk to the train station, which is what people are doing at that time of day. They're walking to the train station. Beeline bus does take people, but a lot of people walk either to the train or on their way home from the train. So when you go, and actually it was my suggestion to TPAC, please go through the records with TPAC over the years, and you'll see the history of all of these lines and everything. But a little bit of sidewalk was added here. But you don't do that. You have to go, and then you go and you walk on the street. You have to walk on the street, and then you get onto a little more sidewalk, and then there's a light, and you have to cross. And I personally was almost struck down by a car one time, a woman coming from Scarsdale Avenue, making the left onto going up Brook Street here, it was her left. I'm walking, she was texting, and then she had to slam on the brake. That's what happens at that intersection, like routinely. Those things are happening. Please just look at the TPAC records. So again, this is like a star. You've got 1, 2, 3, and then you've got 4 and 5, and then proposing that while all of this is going on, people are swooping around. It just doesn't make sense. And this area for the kids, it's like a disaster waiting to happen. I live on Downer. My kids never played alone on my front yard. I live further up the street. I just, as common sense, you just don't do that. And then you've got cars, and you're gonna have little kids, maybe 2 to 4 years old out here. The little kids, what do they want to do? Their mission in life is to just run away from you. They would run away from you. So it's just, anyway, I appreciate all the time that you guys have put into this, and thank you for letting us overstay probably our welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Luigi Pellicciari. I live next door to the applicant, and I'm very concerned about all this talking about the traffic. It's a very, very dangerous intersection. Believe me, it's very, very dangerous. Consider that. I strongly oppose to the proposed commercial child care facility next door to my house. Also, I'm very concerned about the safety of the children and the pedestrians. Deny this application. Please, just deny this application. Doesn't belong there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
Some photos that I have taken sitting in my car at the aforementioned intersection, and also a vehicle accident, which I'm sure that the EPD could confirm from December 16th, 2025.
Sure. How many do you have there? Can you just put them on the ledge there right now? Whichever you think are the most helpful. Is there a little ledge there? You could just.
And this is for our reporter, this is Mr. Deneen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the vehicle accident with the EPT patrol car there.
That's fine. Okay.
This is just some of what we have to deal with.
Okay, the accident is on the left, I guess?
Yes, this one here.
Okay.
Zoom in.
see. Got it. Yeah, that's right at the turn. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Gary, could you just do the same thing on the other two? Could you just move over? Right, that's cars backing up. Okay. Same thing. Sort of shows the amount of traffic through the intersection.
Blocking the traffic, blocking the box.
Put it up, just put it up there, just over the other one.
This is from December 3rd at 4:05 in the afternoon.
Sure.
With an EPD car sitting here, just kind of watching the traffic.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Could I have those to put them into the record? Could I have those copies? Thank you.
One quick comment is where that accident is where they're proposing you can bypass people.
Right, I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that was without needing to bypass anybody. See what happened.
Yeah, I think we're all familiar enough with the
We're all familiar with that?
topography
Okay,
here.
Cool.
One last thing I thought of while we were all talking. Rich Handel again, this will take 2 minutes, 1 minute maybe. If they actually have this 15-minute allotment for parents, which I don't think is workable because you're late, you're early, whatever, I think what will eventually happen if you were going to charge a fine, I don't know, $25 if you come before or after your slot, what will happen is cars will probably queue on Downer. They'll come early, they'll block Grace's driveway, they'll be up the street, and they'll be waiting for the time, and then they'll pull in. So that in itself, doing that, you're creating a queue up the block, which creates another issue.
Yeah, good point, thank you.
This is 4 straight second-time speakers.
I'm sorry. Isabella Pellicciati, just one thing I'd like to emphasize. In front of my parents' driveway, there's a no standing sign. Keep that into consideration as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, deep breath. Let's see, so I have a bunch of stuff to say, but I don't want to go first.
Yeah, all right.
Any members of the board would like to wrap up?
Well, we're keeping the public hearing open?
Yes,
for the
public
moment?
hearings.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know what? Good idea. Do you want to wrap up?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
We're here to answer questions. You know, you heard from your traffic consultant with respect to post-monitoring. After operations are open, we can accommodate that. One of the things we can do is provide that data to the town to make sure that, you know, the town is comfortable with post-opening operations. And we can talk more about, with Dr. Gurley, about the best way to do that and provide that to the town. Elaine, did you want to touch on anything else? No, you're okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the Cove Street, and I have been to that site. I do recognize that it is a different site, but just very broadly and conceptually, is there a system in place for staggering the drop-offs with penalties associated with it, and does that work?
I don't believe that's at the New Rochelle location.
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and the other thing about that location is there are situations where there's carpooling. So it's one family with 2 children.
Yep.
So that's not necessarily why they have,
Yep.
you know. Yeah.
No, I think it's valuable to know that
Yeah.
this applicant has run a
Right.
daycare before. I definitely take that strongly into account. So this isn't experimental.
Right.
But the 2 sites are very different. This is a much more problematic site.
Yeah.
I think we all
Yeah.
can recognize that.
And as discussed earlier, you know, the applicant wants this to work. I mean, the applicant doesn't want a situation where there are traffic concerns or, you know, parents are having an issue. They want a successful daycare and they want everyone to be safe. They have to. It's part of their license.
Thank you.
One other question I had, since the last times that you were here, was the quantity of kids ever reduced, or was it always 15?
It It's 15. That's the maximum number,
Got it.
the maximum number, right.
And that's what it was last time, too?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think at some point, it wasn't, there wasn't a commitment to 15, but that during the process, that commitment's been made, and that would be part of a condition of any approval.
Correct.
So for our purposes right now, 15 is the max, and that's it.
Correct.
Okay, members of the board, any comments you'd like to put forth now? About the application in general, your opinions or anything? Because I have lots of opinions.
My opinion, I'm not an engineer. I might be the only one up here who's not besides Phil, but I did join to voice my opinion as someone who lives here and hear everyone out that lives here and hear their concerns, and it's been the biggest showing consistently on this application. And if I were the applicant, I would probably try to read whether they're in bounds to open it or not, I would probably try to read what the constituents are telling me. Like if I was opening a Starbucks and I did my due diligence and there was no need for one there, if they truly want to succeed or have the best interest in mind for their business, showing their success at the other location is not apples to apples. I don't know, opinion-wise, I'm not sure how much more I'm in bounds to say until we put it to some sort of a vote, but I think that people have made their cases quite clear. And like Lauren said, respect everybody's input, professionals that know way more than I do about it, but just listening to the people that live here and have to deal with the streets, the noise, whatever it may be, day in and day out, and then the safety of the children, I think we've heard I've heard everything that I need to hear about it, and wait for next steps now.
Yeah, I have a comment as well, and certainly, whatever applicant comes before us, if they have a good concept, whether it's a home renovation or whether it's a business proposition, I like to see people making improvements. I like to see people addressing needs that the town has, and so we take every application seriously, and certainly appreciate the professionalism of this applicant and the team that's been assembled. I still keep coming back to, throughout this process, I know this town very well. I've lived in this town for almost 60 years. And, I know that particular area quite well. And I keep saying it myself, it's a problematic area, and I know human nature very well. You can put as many well-conceived suggestions, let's call them, including no standing any time, which is something I violate all the time if I'm picking someone up at a train station. People will be guided by what is immediate to them at the moment. So when I saw this I guess as part of the memo that was sent to you, and it's an email from the police chief, Joseph Rodriguez, and he says in this March 16th email, "What I still believe is there is inadequate parking, and with the times involved will conflict with school buses, beeline buses, as well as sanitation pickup." And then, there is little guarantee any of the suggestions for drop-off and pickup will be adhered to by guardians. I do believe you can probably make the drop-up and pickup work aspirationally most of the time. And perhaps if you put a stiff enough penalty, you may just calibrate it perfectly enough that you'll get compliance most of the time. But I still, what the police chief refers to here, inadequate parking, conflicting with school buses. I know what we've heard from Dr. Greeley, who says that this can work. I don't think it will work. And I see echoes of that in what the police chief says. And adding to that, I think there were comments by Rocco Latella as well, about the site. So those are my concerns.
Guys. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, I think I just want to point out that all applicants have the right to come in front of the board and the zoning board if necessary and present their application and allow us to review it and make a determination thereof, and which is what the applicant is doing. There's nothing they're doing that's sinister or unacceptable. They're just exercising their rights to do as they want to propose for this site. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we sit here and we understand that there's many different parts that put together a decision of any sort of decision. There's the police who we've referenced, the EPD and the highway department in Eastchester. The applicants, of course, have put a lot of time and effort into it. They have their team of consultants that have put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's all appreciated. We have our consultants that opine on our point of view. We have our own opinions. We put time into this. The advocates for the public here, Mr. Nemesek said, please keep it, keep it to a small, but I sort of get captivated by the passion people have for their neighborhood. And I can't forfeit any of their time because I like hearing what everyone has to say, because we're here not just to have our opinion, we're here to listen to what everyone has to say and form an opinion of our own. So thank you for coming. We understand what everyone's concerns are, and we take it to heart. We take this seriously. And of course, as I said, we have an opinion too. So that being said, just wanted to point out that there's three different things that I see in addition to everything else associated with, but there's three things that still need to be decided, of course, and that is the parking, if there's adequate parking, and number one, if the traffic pattern works. I know we've discussed that a lot. And then, of course, they need a special permit to move forward with this project. So let me just point out that we're not here to yay or nay this project right now. We're here to take a vote on whether this should be referenced to the zoning board to do their part of the application. That's why we're here. We're not voting on the application tonight. We're saying, do we pass it to the zoning board, or do we just say, no, it stops here? So as I said, if it does go to the zoning board, and just so you know, the special permit, we haven't really discussed it very much, but it does carry a lot of weight on what's going on. And let me just read. So on a lot of applications, special permits are approved by the planning board. Any of them having to do with daycare facilities are under the purview of the Zoning Board of Appeals, not this board. So in order to get a special permit, the applicant has to go in front of the zoning board, present their application, and the zoning board is obviously going to consider the variances and the special permit application. And the standards, there's a bunch of standards for the special permit application, and the one that strikes me, there's three of them. I'm not going to read all of them, but I am going to put one down that should the zoning board consider the special permit, this is the standard they have to use. I think we may have read it before. And the standard they're going to use is, and I'll read it as slowly as I can, operations, all special permits should comply with the following standards. Operations in connection with any special permit used will not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, traffic, fumes, vibration, or other characteristics than would be the operations of permitted uses not requiring a special permit. Parking area will be adequate size for particular special permit use, properly located, suitably screened from adjoining residential uses, and the entrance and exit drives shall be laid out so as to achieve maximum convenience and safety. So that's the requirement that the zoning board is going to have to use. It's not a rubber stamp, nor is this a rubber stamp. So there's still a lot of ground to be covered before anything happens to this application. So I'm going to make a statement that we prepared, and it's certainly at this point, it's my opinion, and I'm not saying it's the opinion of the board. And guys, let me finish, and then we're going to have to take a vote on whether we're going to forward this, make a recommendation to forward to the zoning board to do their part of the application. So this is really just what I believe, how I feel about it. So there are several issues that have been identified in this application. Traffic is a significant issue. So is the adequacy of the playground area and the number and adequacy of the parking spaces available to the site. The building inspectors determined that the number of parking spaces is deficient, and it seems to be, based on this information that we have, there is not enough parking to prevent impacts to the surrounding roadways without the imposition of complicated conditions that will be difficult to enforce. That said, the applicant has indicated an intent to seek an interpretation of a variance from the building inspector's determination, and the applicant should be given the chance to make its case to the zoning board regarding parking, the special use permit, and other issues within their purview. At this point, I don't think it makes sense for the planning board to continue its review of the application until the zoning board has been given the opportunity to review the application and make a decision about the required number of parking spaces and the special use permit. With that said, I'm going to make a motion that we refer the application to the zoning board for review. This referral is not an approval nor endorsement of the proposal, and I'd like to ask the members of the zoning board clearly make note of this. It appears to me that there are still several issues of concern other than those which will now need to be addressed by the ZBA. Some of these issues may be insurmountable, but at this point, we need clarification on the parking and other items with the zoning board's jurisdiction. So that's my motion. You guys, we could vote on it. So I'm a yay on voting it, on transferring it to the zoning board.
All right. I will second that motion.
What do you got?
I'm seconding the motion nonetheless.
Yea or nay?
I'm a nay.
Who's that?
That's Mike. Nay.
I understand. Joe? Joe?
It was a nay for myself.
Oh, it comes back here anyway, right?
What's that? We got a majority, yeah.
Yay.
Okay. So, so motion passed.
Correct. So this will be referred to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The applicant will make an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That board will also hold a public hearing on this application. If the applicant receives the approvals needed from the Zoning Board of Appeals, it will return to the planning board to continue the public hearing on this application.
Continue the discussion.
To continue the public hearing, correct.
So, by the way, just 1 second. Please do the visualization that we asked for 2 times and bring it back.
We will. We will,
Thank you.
Chairman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application is,
Did you vote yea on that?
Hi, my name is Grace Pellicciari. I live at 5 Downer. I'm going to have one request.
Oh.
Please try to respect our neighborhood. We are losing our, how am I going to say the words?
Patience?
No, I don't lose patience. We don't have that thing anymore. Everything, it's we have no privacy anymore. No privacy.
Is that your husband?
That's my husband.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, I get upset because
He's a lucky man.
it's 39 years that I live there, and we never had this kind of trouble. But now, we don't have camera here, camera there. I want to ask you a question. Do anybody of you know that there is a camera on Harney Road?
No.
Who put it there?
Maybe
We
Westchester didn't we say Westchester? That's a Westchester.
Why don't
I mean, come on.
Okay.
We don't have no more privacy.
It's his birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
You need to go cook for
Yes,
him or something.
exactly. Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
And it was March 27th last year that we first took this up. I'm sorry. You have to respect the process. Okay. I know. I know.
Happy birthday. All right. I guess you know you're next, huh? The next application is 2605 72 Dale Road.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Tom Haynes from Haynes Architecture. Thank you for seeing me tonight. hopefully it won't be as contentious as the prior two.
Yeah, I saw you on the way in. That was 4 hours ago.
So, yeah, so we've all been here for a little while. So our application tonight is for a second floor addition. We already obtained approval from the Architectural Review Board. The project is just a second floor addition. We're not doing any site disturbance. It is over an existing one-story structure. The house exists as a Cape Cod style house. We're proposing to expand the second floor to turn it in more to a colonial space. My clients are a young family with young children, and they're looking for a space that they need. So thus the second floor addition. They're modernizing it, bringing up the values of the adjacent houses and neighborhood. And just very quickly, and I could present as long or as little as you want, but essentially this will be just a crude rendering that we had prepared of what the aesthetic of the house will look like. And then this at the bottom here is a streetscape of our house in the middle with the existing houses on either side, just to give you a little idea as to the scale of the project. All of our sample materials here. And like I said, I can end it here. I can go on to elevations and really walk you through everything if you like. I can show you floor plans. So
Yeah, you're doing well. Keep that pace and we're good.
okay, gotcha. So
Just let me, do you need any variances?
No.
Yeah,
No,
because you're
everything-
building on
everything
the
is
same
zoning
footprint, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Everything's zoning compliant.
And, yeah, good, and you're not building over the height restriction?
No,
Yeah,
so we're
okay,
fully
perfect.
compliant there. We have, just to expand, you'll see it in the elevations shortly, but we are cantilevering the second floor a little bit to the front and the back, just to maximize over that again. But like I mentioned, there's no site disturbance at all. Nothing will be touching down at the front here. So just material-wise, hardy plank siding is the majority of the house. The elements here, which this is the existing front entry vestibule, will remain. We're going to propose a vertical siding there, board and batten siding by Hardy. Same thing on this bump out as well. So this is just an extruded sort of a box bay here to create some different roofline articulations there. All black Anderson 400 series windows. We have our proposed stone veneer siding, which is going to go along the front facade there, changing the garage door, changing the front doors, proposed lighting, which is an example here with all the specifications. And if we're just going to go into the technical drawings here, you can see here, so the top left is the existing front elevation, so this is the existing, this is the proposed. And as we work around, top right is the existing right side elevation, proposed right side elevation. Working our way around, we have top left is what the existing rear elevation looks like, the proposed rear, and then existing left and proposed left. And if you like, I could take you through the floor plans. I don't know if you want to see that or if you're more interested on the exterior, but I'm happy to do so if you want to see it.
I'm sorry if I missed it when I stepped out. Are there any variances for this, or?
No variances. So everything's zoning compliant. Height is fully compliant.
Height is compliant, okay.
Setbacks are fully compliant. And we're adding about 500 square feet, so it's not oversized by any means. It's in line. You missed it. I had a streetscape at the bottom. You know what?
I'll take your word. No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's in line with the adjacent properties.
Thanks.
Yeah,
The
no,
Architectural Review Board reviewed it, and, the referral back was to recommend approval as submitted.
It looks tall to the plan, but if it's good, then it's good, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is an example of what I was describing before. Like when people do improvements, it does, shows they still have interest, and it just lifts the entire neighborhood. So,
Great.
and this one is pretty
Can you just flip
uncontroversial.
back to the front elevation, please?
Nice.
Did you tell us finishes?
Yes.
You did? Maybe I wasn't paying attention,
Yeah,
sorry.
so again, just based on all of the sample finishes are here.
Okay.
But the majority of all of the siding is a hardy plank, James hardy plank siding, 8 1/4 inch exposure, alpine white color. The extruded box bay element on the left side here, and also the existing front vestibule area are going to be a board and batten look, which is this sample here where my finger is pointing at.
Yep.
And again, like I said, Anderson windows, 400 series. This is example of the front door, rear doors. This is what the railing will look like. And then this at the bottom here is the streetscape.
Great, very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
What are we doing here? We're doing a public hearing. Hang So I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 2605, 72 Dale Road. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to close the public hearing on application 2605, 72 Dale Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve the same application 2605, 72 Dale Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Nice work.
Yep. Last application is 25-79, 23 Dogwood Drive.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Bilowich. I'm a resident in 23 Dogwood Drive. Vladimir Levin, the architect. May I submit some hard copies?
Sure.
Okay.
That's your proof of notice?
It was afternoon at one point.
Yeah.
Morning by the time we leave.
It'll be good morning soon. That's what I said. I said, we'll be there, the guy's birthday again.
Again.
Why don't you take the mic? Yep.
Vladimir Levin, architect. This project is an addition to an existing single-family house. There's a two-story addition in the back of the house and a one-story addition in the front of the house with a porch. There's also an existing driveway that goes down to a basement garage, so that driveway is being filled in to create a new driveway that's level with the front lawn, and we're creating a second parking space that you can see on the site plan. This project required a front yard variance for a 26-foot front yard setback where 30 is required, and we got approval from the zoning board for that. We also went to the architectural review board, who reviewed the application and gave us approval for that as well. And here we are for final step of this journey.
Technically, the ARB, I guess, makes a recommendation. Do they have any suggestions for changes to anything?
They didn't, no, they
Okay.
approved it as presented.
Okay, good. Okay. See if we have any.
Great. We're just going to see if any comments from the public. I make a motion to open the public hearing on application 2579, 23 Dogwood.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nope. Motion to close the public hearing on same application, 2579, 23 Dogwood.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And just one last question. You mentioned the setback you needed a variance for. Were there any other variances that you needed?
No, just
that
the
one?
front yard.
Okay, and you've gotten that from the zoning
Sorry,
board?
just re-explain that. It's because you're adding the addition in the front, so it's eating some of the setback requirement?
I'm sorry, for some reason,
Yeah.
last time I was here, the acoustics are really bad. And it's hard for some reason to hear when you're standing here. I'm gonna step back and maybe I could hear better.
The variance, it was for, maybe I'll speak up too. The variance is because of this, the addition you're doing on the front?
Yes.
It's impeding on the setback requirement?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
But you have the variance already, so.
We got the variance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
By the way, I could hear much better here.
Maybe it was my speaking. It was fun.
It is strange that the acoustics are
I was
strange.
mumbling, you're right.
Yeah. Let's all speak at once and really confuse him. Come on. All right.
Oh, do we have any conditions?
There were no conditions recommended by the Architectural Review Board, so unless you have any, there are none to propose.
There's no new landscape or anything like that?
There is a no.
Good, that's easy, so we're done. So I make a motion to approve application 2579, 23 Dogwood Drive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the final, I make a motion to close the Town of Eastchester Planning Board meeting of March 26, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a
Thank you
nice
very much.
evening. Thank you.
Thank you. 11:01.